what race, what people doctor, and what hospital, and what media went to. We know I can't say that.
Right? As we enter this crucible of the technological singularity, we are going
so relentless, and on my dogs up against a life sentence. I love y'all like I love no
bitch,
and that's real
shit.
shit.
The helpless object of men's ill will by committing it to writing. In a word, the conclusion to be drawn is this: when one sees a written composition, whether it be on law by a legislator or on any other subject, one can be sure if the writer is a serious man, that his book does not represent his most serious thoughts. They remain stored up in the noblest region of his personality.
Status number 1. Ship and crew functioning normally, Captain. Then my doppelganger caused no serious damage.
Take precautions lest this teaching ever be disclosed among untrained people. It is impossible for what is written not to be disclosed. That is the reason why I have never written anything about these things, and why there is not and will not be any written work of Plato's own. Farewell and believe. Read this letter now at once many times and burn it.
The replica was convincing. Very convincing, but not perfect. Not perfect in what way? Well, sir.
All celebrities.
Let's see. Yeah, what's going on? What's going on? What's up? NPC, what's up, man? NPC the game, back at it again. Gabriel Blackskin Carbo here, District 13, Shaolin, Taiwan. Beautiful day. I'm here with the man, the myth. Some people call him a fed, but he's actually just fed up with all this fucking second Matrix bullshit people are trapped in. Here he is, Neurojack, my co-host today. What's going on, brother?
Yes, Federal Bureau of Investigation Jack. That's me.
Yeah, man. He's not a fed. He's just fed up. Yeah.
Yep. Fuck, yeah, but I'm investigating, so I'll just roll with it. I'll roll with it.
You roll with it, man. That's all you can do. You see, I mean, this is from your channel, Silver Tongue Cavalier. This video is really cool. This Kanye, and I stopped it right at. I mean, you already have a lot of stuff already unpacked. Kanye, like, he was talking about the mega hat, and that's so triggering for so many people, man. It can. I've seen people walk into businesses, like not in person because I've been here in Taiwan, but and it just disrupts the whole ambiance of the place.
Even in Taiwan, huh?
No. I haven't seen that, and it probably would. It probably would. I mean, I have when I went to DC in 2018, I got a MAGA beanie, which ironically is being sold by South Koreans in front of the White House.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and I think I wore it like once or twice or something like that. I mean, because red looks good just in itself, man.
Yeah, I have I bought the hoodie, and I never worn it because I'm scared to get like assaulted or something. But it's funny, like I just bought it like as like a souvenir, like because and like I almost want to wear it sometimes just to like fuck with people, but I'm also kind of like. It's funny because like I'm embarrassed to wear something like that now, but I still think the message itself is good. But I think that, there's so many layers to something like that, where it's like, it's obviously, I mean, I could write if I were smart enough, I could write like a 15, I could write like a 1,500 page dissertation on like what's going on behind like, the messages and the political messages like that. It's like it's one of those things that's very divisive, and it shouldn't be just with the words themselves, but it's become this whole
well, because the program we get is, as soon as you think about when America was great, we think about the 50s. That's the closest that comes to mind first, and or maybe even go back farther and talk about like the 1800s. Either way, if you're looking at it from a racial point of view, which was everything in the U.S. seems to be racial, you see how you think, oh, the 50s, like, it was great for some people, for white America, but then for Black Americans, some of them were still battling the Jim Crow, and and then they were doing the civil rights stuff, and they didn't even get to the civil rights stuff in the 60s yet. So a lot of people get triggered, I think, because of that. When they think about make America great, it wasn't great for everyone.
Do you have a strong opinion on it, or not particularly? I mean about that aspect of it, like the historical. Was it ever great, and can we make it great again? Like how do you feel about? Do you have a particular opinion on it, or not particularly?
I have an opinion on everything. It's just a matter. It's like what you said though. It's like I don't want to wear the red hoodie because it might make people like rage out. But fuck it, this is our show today, my platform, and I have to say it's got some feedback right there, a little bit of feedback. There was
Okay.
Like it was great for some people. Meaning, what is great? Like having 2-car garage, having a house, having your wife able to take care of the kids at home and live a good life using the appliances. You work, come home on the weekend, cut the grass. And that's the image we get, Living to Beaver. But and there were probably some Black Americans living like that too. But then there was probably an awful lot that weren't. My thing is, it's a lot better than it used to be in terms of like race relations. And now 2024, and everyone has an opportunity to make the best of what they have. Some people have more chances than others, Black or white. But back then, in general, like a lot of white people had some privilege. But then again, um it's not like that anymore, per se. So
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean?
I have a lot of different opinions about this kind of stuff. Like, I mean, I could argue I could probably argue your point of view, and I could probably argue the average Trump supporter's point of view, depending on my mood, I guess. I mean, for me right now, I think I would say just like, when I think about make America great again, I mean, it's obviously a very loaded notion, I guess you'd say. And what I mean by that is, like, you could say, well, what you just said there about the racial thing and stuff like that, and like I do get it and everything, but also the other side of it, I say, like, look, I mean, were blacks better off then or now? And I mean, you really can't compare in some ways. And I know that this is going to sound, again, I know that a lot of things I say sound very like callous or something, but I'm also thinking of things in different terms. So, like, for example, I would say, like, did people kind of in general stay and get married and stuff like that? And, like, economic opportunities, may have not been quote unquote equal, but again, like, I think it's kind of like it's relative to the situation, and it's like, freedom in a sense is kind of I don't want to say it's subjective, but I think in some senses, like, the amount of freedom that the average person had back then, even if they were poor, you can't even compare it to now in some ways. And then in other ways, we're very free because of the technology and the cheap, at least in America, like, everything's very cheap relative, even with all the inflation and all the bullshit, like, you can survive relatively cheaply. And I think back then, like, you really had to work your ass off just to, like, really survive and have a roof over your head. So, I mean, it's like, it's kind of one of these things, like, it depends on what frame you're really looking at it from. And, like, I could get into more details, but it's kind of, it sounds already muddy as it is, so I don't want to make it more muddy than already made it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah. And it's like, just like now, it's like how hard are you willing to get after it? What is the whole meme of the Giga Chat? I'm grinding. What do you? He's always grinding. Like, so, like, were you willing to grind back then? Are you willing to grind now? No matter what, how you start.
Well, and I think it's that, and also like the thing is, like I said, like the main thing I'm thinking is like people in general had families that were cohesive. And again, like I'm not idealizing it like, oh, families were perfect. I'm sure there's a lot of fucked up shit on every race and every class of people. But I'm just saying, like, in general, people kind of got married, they stayed married, they kind of like, in general, kind of like invested in their children because they didn't have, other things to do with their time, basically. So,
Yeah.
but then you have like alcoholism and you have racism and you have, just generally stupid people with too much time on their hands, which we still have now. But I think in general, like, I actually think that, I mean, I just get the impression that people now are definitely like not as concerned about moral stuff in a sense, but in the other sense, like people kind of generally are not out committing evil acts on average. So I think it's kind of like, it's kind of like a trade-off in some sense,
Yeah, because people, they're consumed with themselves and their activities, so much so they don't have time to. Now we're talking about race again, like join the clan or even to just be mean spirited towards somebody, regardless, even if it's not a racial thing, just be mean. They're just into themselves. Maybe because that's the freeing up of the technology and stuff. And my last thing I wanted to say it earlier about the mega thing is triggering. One thing that I will say, in my opinion on things, it's like it is kind of it's annoying, but I don't lose sleep over it. It's the fact that sometimes you get this discussions about we hear some people say, and I've heard black people say it, but I heard way more white people say it. Like, there's no race. There's no such thing as race. It's people. We're not. There's no racism still, and it's like, come on, bro. Of course there is. There's racism here in Taiwan. There's racism definitely in America, but I'm not gonna lose sleep over it. Especially if it's not in my, if it doesn't confront me. But just to hear people say like it doesn't do, that's like, come on, bro. That's not a what you guys say. You say that's not a in good faith saying that.
Well, racism, I think racism is something that's like, it's inevitable, but it's also kind of like, again, this is going to sound kind of weird, but like, I kind of have this thing where it's like, it's not always like a nefarious thing, right? It's like, and what I mean by that is like, even if somebody, seems like an asshole and they're like, I don't like these people like this. And like, we all make little stereotypical judgments about people. We have to. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like in life, you're gonna have to like take shortcuts and say, well, this person dresses a certain way, I'm gonna prejudge them. And even if you're wrong, it's like, well, sometimes you just have to like make decisions about how you're gonna spend your time, right? So like, if I see a white person or black person or whatever color they are, and their pants are sagging around their ass, depending on other things about them, it's going to like make me think, well, maybe this person's not the best person to have around. But I'm the first I'm the first one to admit that when I was 14, 15, 16, I was sagging my pants because I thought it was cool. And you know why? It's like I watched MC Hammer when I was like a kid, and I was like, oh, this guy's cool. And I didn't realize that it was like the way the pants were made. And so I just thought it was like, oh, well, I have to get really baggy pants. And you know what I'm saying? It's like, in my mind, that image stuck in my mind for so long that I was like, oh, baggy pants are cool. I was into martial arts. Baggy pants are cool. And then I realized like it's a whole like thing that gives people an impression. And my family tried to explain to me like, hey, this is giving people a bad impression of you. And I was like, I don't care. And then I eventually grew out of it, but.
Yeah, there's two origins about that too. It's like there's one that says people will say like, nah, I just like to wear my pants like that, right? And even though they have a belt, they'll cinch it so they can sag it, right? But then there's another thing like that say like that sagging the pants comes from prison culture because they don't give you a belt because they don't want you to hang yourself or use it as a weapon, allegedly, right? So that's where the sagging pants came, and the punks used to sag their pants as a way to show.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. No, and
some
and
chunk.
I saw it as a as a punk rock thing basically. But like again, Like, you know, like I like Limp Bizkit and all that shit. And so, and, you know, and like other, you know, like rap music and stuff. But I was basically, you know, trying to portray the image like I like this kind of music. You know, you're trying. It wasn't even to fit in because honestly, almost no one I knew liked the music that I liked or anything like that. It was more like, hey, I admire this art. I'm going to try to embody it. So I did, and you know, I did a poor job. I'm sure I did a poor job of it because I couldn't afford nice clothes, so you know, it was like Walmart clothes trying to make it look cool. But you know,
Hey man, I was doing that with Kmart over there on the West Coast, with trying to look cool with my Pendletons, which are interesting enough for probably for hunters. And flannel
well,
shirts.
yeah, yeah, but that's the funny thing is like it's funny. Like I got made fun of when I was younger for the Walmart style, and then by the time I was graduating high school, everybody was wearing Walmart clothes, and it was like
Popular.
cool. And I was like, it was just the weirdest thing ever to me. You know, it's like now you couldn't. I mean, I will sometimes wear poor people clothes, but it's not. It's usually not by choice, and again, it's not because like I'm a snob. It's more like I'd rather have like one thing of quality that I like, and wear it rather than like a bunch of things that are cheap and like I hate the feel of it, I hate the look of it. And so like it's kind of weird how you kind of like change your taste over time. And it's mainly because, you know, after you get married and stuff, you're like your wife doesn't want you to look like a bum because it makes her look like a bum. So, you know, it's like it's kind of like that. But
I remember my ex-girlfriend told me one time, like in my mid-20s or something, she's like, "Why are you wearing that jersey, like basketball jersey? You're too old for that." I was like, "What?" Never really thought about that shit. You know,
yeah,
maybe
no,
I.
exactly. Like my real personality is like I threw some clothes today away, right? And like for me, growing up poor, it's like it's something that you know my grandfather would look at me and be like, "You're a fucking piece of shit." Basically, it's like you throwing your clothes away. It's still good, you know. Use it. And I mean, he wouldn't say that, but my point is like you know, in general, we're very frugal people, right? But then like now, I'm like, okay, well, and I feel guilty throwing clothes that are technically okay away, but then I just have like way too much stuff and I'm like I don't have space and I'm like okay, well I got to make choices here. It's like, you know, so I bite the bullet and I throw it away, and then today I like feel guilty about that kind of stuff. And it's like I don't know, it's kind of weird. Like I kind of like clothes and shoes and shit like that now, like because I didn't have it when I'm a kid, so it's like am I spoiled, you know, or I don't know.
No, because it's what you love what you didn't have. It's like now I go on the other channel I have and play GTA and like stream it sometimes, and like I spend like fucking 15 minutes in the clothes, like looking at the fucking clothes and fucking stylize my character, my avatar. Because I mean, because like you said, I was poor, I didn't have much money, so you know, want
Yeah, but
to
I think aesthetics are important, and like
yeah, yeah.
I'm not a good dresser by any means, but I always make a statement with what I'm wearing, right? So it's like,
Mhm.
and you know, I think again, it's like I've always been that way. So it's not like I don't know where it comes from, but I think it's more like just a thing that everybody makes a statement. And I think especially if you watch women, like women always, not always, but I think most women like they think about little details, and that's
Mhm.
something that I learned from them. And I'm like, okay, so women really appreciate details, right? And so that's the kind of the way I look
Right.
at it, you know.
It's like how most people, if they even do a clips channel from their live streams, they just slap it together. But very rarely where people like take the time to kind of max up what they have to say, or even do it in a more contemporary way that makes you think on layers. And like for example, like yours, the more I watch your video, like we were just watching your Kanye video, the more nuances and details I see. Even like when, like for example, when I was talking, like one of the videos, like you had where you use some of my audio talking to the machine, you had like some Mauger guy. Like at first I thought it was Glenn Lawrence. I don't know who it was, but it was like a bald white guy with a beanie and like talking like when I would talk. And I don't know if he did it on purpose, but I was like, that's interesting. That's like a resonator of like of me maybe type of shit. I don't know if he did it on
Well,
purpose, but it
well,
was like
well,
wow.
well, I don't even remember honestly what I did. And that's the funny thing
Whatever
is
you
like, Well, that's the weird thing about like I don't really want to talk about my process much. I feel I'm a little superstitious about it, but I'll basically say this: it's like basically I don't really plan anything per se, but I do kind of like just like I am getting better about like actually making like decisions. But for the most part, like I'm not really making decisions. I'm like, okay, I'll just like pick this, and then I'll pick this, and then I'll pick this, and I'm like, okay, I'll cut this, cut this, cut this. And so yeah, I'm not really thinking. I'm just more like, and but then when I go back and I watch it, I'm like, oh, like this actually look like the more I watch it, I'm like, oh, this actually does like line up, and this actually it's like a mini layered joke. And again, this is what I wanted to get into with you today is like that's what I'm, you know, when you watch someone like Alex Jones and all these things, I think that it's the same thing, whether it's a coincidence or a magical thing or synchronicity or God or the devil or whatever it is. I don't know, but I'm just saying like there is something like that that goes on when you are in. I think that's just life in general, but I also think that like if you're consciously trying to accomplish something, like your intention will kind of like shine through, right? And I think that's for me, that's what I'm noticing, you know.
Right. The Jungians may call it synchronicity, meaningful coincidence. I think of the Panelverse YouTuber. It could be the flow state. You know, you're in the zone. You're in the
Yeah,
zone, man.
shout out to Flow State. You know, Flow State, like me and him have a lot of contention because we have different views, I'm sure, on a lot of things. But I will give him respect. Like he does actually put a lot of time and effort into his channel as far as like, especially like his clips and stuff. Like I think his clips are very well done. So
He has artistic, even his thumbnails. They have some thought there, layered thought.
yeah, he's not a dummy, that's for sure. He definitely has like some sort of artistic. He wouldn't admit it, but I think he does have an artistic like comprehension to some degree. And it's funny because I don't know much about Young, but so many people bring up Young, so I need to catch up. You know, but
yeah, Young is interesting. He makes things pretty. It resonates with me and a lot of people I know the way he has to say. Now, maybe some people might be kind of, I'll just say, snobbish and be like, oh, you know, that's like that, you know, lower level psychoanalysis compared to Freud or other people or whatever. But it works, man. I see it on many levels. It's just another tool to put in our arsenal, or weapon to put in our arsenal, and trying to decode what's really going on.
yeah, well, I mean, I'll put it this way, you know, one of the reasons like I'm so abrasive with my stuff the clips that I put together is because like, you know, I think everything's a lens, right? And I think like my lens is always going to be Christianity, right? So like I grew up as a Christian, but again, it's like a very, you know, like not like a Bible thumping version, just kind of like a Christian. I grew up as a Christian, so whatever that means, I don't know. But you know, it's like, so like that's just my lens. So like when I do all this stuff and people are like, oh, this, you know, people get so like everybody's reaction is so different, right? And I think it says a lot of like to me, it's just interesting that it's like I never thought of myself as an artist. I actually hated art, to be honest with you. Like I always hated art. I thought it was like stupid, honestly. And then now I'm older and I'm like, oh, okay, like actually, I should appreciate art more because it actually.
I say artists. I say that. I don't say YouTubers. I say artists, man.
Yeah. Well, like, yeah, I always hated that term actually. Like, yeah, like when someone said, I'm not a musician, I'm an artist. And I'm like, oh my God, like that sounds gay. But now I understand, like, it actually is true. It actually is true. And I think that that's something that's like, it took me a very, very, very long time to come to terms with that for some reason. Like, I've always just been like an anti-art person in a way. Like, but then like, you know, it's like I always thought the punk rock thing, like, oh, you just kind of slap it together. But then I realized like those guys were not just slapping shit together like at all. Like I think that was like them trying to like be humble or something, you know, like because you go back and you really try to understand the punk rock. It's like a lot of these guys were not just dumbasses, you know.
No, I've been going down that rabbit hole. Funny you say that. Like the last couple of weeks, and just getting into the old punk where it started, you know, with the Exploited, even the degenerates like Gigi Allen, some crazy Bosnian punk rock, like this going. And when you look at it at its core, it's kind of like what hip hop was, in a sense, in the beginning, with like the message and with people trying to buck the system, trying to like just expose the system, how it fails a lot of people, especially the youth. And the punks did it with style and passion and fucking rage.
Well, exactly. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I think that everything comes out of blues, and I think everything came out of, like, I think without the blues, which is a black, really black people's invention, in my opinion. I mean,
Like American, definitely.
you know, it's really all about the blues. If it's not for the blues, modern music doesn't exist. And I think that, like, Kurt Cobain understood this very, very well, but he also like chopped it up, and this is going to sound retarded, I know, but I think that people like Kurt Cobain and other really good musicians, they basically chopped and screwed the blues methodology. And I think everything we see today, with the exception of like some new metal like Limp Bizkit and like Korn and these guys who I do they did like more like a acid jazz version or something. But I think in general everything's like the 4/4, the, you know, like you have like your intro, your chorus, your verse, your whatever, you know, it's like your pre-chorus, whatever. It's like everything's a formula, and it works, but you can be very creative because you have these like boundaries, right? And I think that blues really, to me, is like the epitome of like music. It's like, I don't really like much music that's not blues based, except for like, again, some electronica or something. Like, I think really you can't beat the blues, in my opinion. So.
No, you can't. It's American. The Warren G has it on that song. You don't see what I see. That clip where the guy's saying the blues has always been America. America has always been the blues. Why is the blues so at home here? Well, America created the atmosphere, and then the song starts. And
exactly.
That's why I played we were playing the Pink Floyd Breathe and Any Color You Like. That's straight blues, baby. Like with their name, they're British boys.
Well, but, no, exactly. I mean, like I've always loved Led Zeppelin, right? And I think that Led Zeppelin's one of these people that, they're one of those people that are very divisive, even especially among musicians, right? But I think that, like, I will never stop loving Led Zeppelin because they basically took a black art. They did a white version, but it's just very beautiful music. I mean, I just don't know how anybody can disagree. I mean, it's like they basically just did like a very heavy blues thing, in my opinion. It's just basically like very heavy blues. And then if you listen to like you said, all these punk rock guys, they're trying to destroy the blues, but you can't. And I think that's the beauty of it. It's like you cannot destroy the blues. Like, no matter what you do to the blues, it's always going to work.
Yeah, so because everyone always has the blues. It's like the Buddhism. I'm surprised there's no Buddhist blues musicians, because, you know, they're all about suffering. Like,
well, no, that's Kurt Cobain. That's who Kurt Cobain was. He was a Buddhist. So like that's what he was doing. Basically, he was, you know, basically trying to be this Buddhist. I think he was a Christian Buddhist or something, but, you know, he was basically like, he was struggling with faith and all that. But anyways, I'm good enough, way off topic, I think. But again, Kanye's a guy who sings the blues. He just doesn't admit it openly, I think. But if you really listen to him, like, if you want to watch a little more of this video, I think it like,
I'm gonna play more.
It's very Kanye focused, or at least I tried to make it kind of Kanye and Alex Jones focused, but I can't remember all the details. But
we'll get back around it. I'm going to say this about being an artist. Like, it wasn't until like I went to college to this liberal arts school in the city, and a lot of psychologists went there. And the surfer chick I was going out with, she's told me from Hawaii, Santa Cruz, and she was telling me, like, because that's when I started making movies and stuff. And she's like, "You're an artist." And I never, like you said, I never thought about it. Like that. I was an athlete. I didn't have time for art. It's not like I hated art, like you said, but it's just never got into it. I thought only way you can be an artist is you have to be very good at drawing, you know. But then I found my medium, and then she's like, "You're an artist," and that changed my paradigm right there. Like, when she did that,
That's exactly how I always felt. Like I always actually wanted to be like an actor or a director or something, but I just like it's never going to happen for me. Or if it does, it'll be something I can just do in my spare time. And then now I realize like if I wanted to do it, you'd have to like actually go to film school and meet people and learn the trade and keep up and I just never really clicked with me until I got much older. So.
Yeah, the funny thing is the way life works. I had those opportunities, but I didn't see it. My uncle was an editor in making in TV and also movies. He went to film school, but I love movies. We would talk, but I never clicked because I was so locked into this program. You're gonna be an athlete. You're gonna do. You know what I mean? Like it's funny how if you don't really have a holistic way of looking at life from an early age, or some good mentors that can show you some things, like you can get totally locked into this NPC type of way of being.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, like, I'll be honest, like if I could go back in the past, one of the only regrets, it's not even a regret, like you said, I just didn't have the mentoring. But like I wish I would have been an athlete. I think I would not have been a good athlete, but I would have been good enough to like really enjoy that experience. You know what I mean? And I think that also, like, if I had mentors when I was younger to say, hey, like maybe you should go do acting or comedy or something like that, I think I would have been great, but also like kind of worry for reasons that I'm sure that I'll eventually make clear to you, and maybe in this talk or another, about like why I'm kind of feel blessed that I missed those opportunities in some ways, but also in another way, like I feel like I could have been effective in those opportunities for good reasons,
Yeah, the commonality is you probably would have been good either way, but are you fighting the good fight? That's how I look at it for myself.
Well,
like,
yeah. And I think a lot of the times you have to ask yourself, like, can you really handle the temptations that come with certain things? And I think that nobody really knows until you're there. And I think that's the kind of scary part,
Right. And when we last left the video, I think it was Plato. The dude was reading from Plato. Do you remember what he was saying about it?
Well, he said if anybody who is serious has any real seriousness to what they're writing, they will never write their own opinions. And I kind of agree with that. I think that in general, like, people are always putting on a front to some degree because we're communicating. So I'm never going to be able to tell you exactly what's in my head. I can only try to like give you a vision that'll be, I think everything's an analogy. I mean, again, I'm stealing Stefan Molyneux, but I think that that's the easiest way to understand a lot of stuff. I think everything we see from other people is kind of a form of an analogy. You know what I mean? Like if you try to tell somebody how much you love them, are you ever going to express it really fully in words? No, of course not. You can't, but you do the best you can, so.
Right. You show them. Okay. Let me get back on this.
What do you think about that quote he was saying from Plato?
I think so too, because you want to get to the core of whatever your attention's at, and you sometimes you can get in the way of yourself, of what you're looking at, and what you're trying to analyze, and it can muddy what your analysis of it. But then again, in order to connect with people, like really connect, you have to put that subjectivity into it. This is why the big influence sources are so big. It's because they're not necessarily giving you the truth. They're giving you a truth and presenting it like it's the truth. But in most people nowadays, they don't care about the real truth, but they care what looks like the real truth.
See, now we're getting into Alex Jones territory, so that's a good start. And I think that and again, I think Plato's basically, I think you can interpret it different ways, and I think that you're getting pretty close. And I think that it definitely sounds like he's saying essentially like, you gotta hide what you're really trying to do to be effective. And I think that's kind of weird in a way, but I think that there is always some element of truth in that. And I think that it's also kind of like, it applies to like a lot of things in life. Like if you're if you're trying to talk to a woman and you make it obvious, hey, I just want to get in your pants. I mean, or
Yeah.
hey, I just really want this job really, really bad because I need it because I'm desperate. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes that's a turnoff, and sometimes that's not the best way to go about things, right? So I think it's like, and trust me, I know from experience, not from those particular two things, but I'm just saying in life, like when you go and you think that you really, really need something really bad, and you're just like everything is about just getting this one thing or whatever, or trying to communicate this one thing, like autistically, I guess now people call it, right? But
Hmm.
it's usually not going to work out probably for the best for most people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not. It's gonna look not very graceful, and yeah. But the thing is, though, I think we have to use a little bit of that thirstiness, of spurginess too. It's just that you got to pick your spots, because if you're all objective, like serious and straight laced the whole time, in my opinion, like stoic as they say, which it works. But if you're like that 24/7, you got no riz, you got no water, you got no emotion, passion. And I think, but the masters know how to sprinkle that in at times, like with
Right.
the right.
I 100% agree with you. And I think a lot of times the mastery comes from making it look like you're not spurging. And that's
Mhm.
the mastery, right? Where it looks like, oh, I'm totally stoic, but you're really not.
Exactly.
Or vice versa, where you're actually not spurging, but it looks like you are. And I think that's also another sign of a master, you know.
Yeah. So let's get this awesome video going again. Also, we're still sharing. Let me bring it up. It's on there. Oh, play.
Our control.
He was a tragedian. He was a trained playwright.
Hold on,
Remember,
hold
he
on.
burned his plays.
Bear with me. Bear with me.
Dead.
The replica was convincing. Very convincing, but not perfect. Not perfect in what way? Well, sir.
All celebrities are controlled.
He was a tragedian. He was a trained playwright. Remember, he burned his plays when he met Socrates. He torched them and dedicated the burning of his plays to Prometheus and called for the god of fire to inspire him in his next endeavor, which is his philosophical project. But he did that at the theater of Dionysus, and as someone who's coming from out of the Dionysian tragic poetic tradition.
And shout out to, was it Remington or someone in your Discord, or they brought up that meme. You said Benjamin talked about it, Owen Benjamin, about like the Dionysi theater, and a lot of tradcons may have got confused with the Olympics Last Supper thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna put that in a future video, a little bit about that. But yeah, I think that it's basically, I mean, let's just put it this way. I think that they're trolling everybody, but especially Christians right now. I think everything we're seeing is like a huge trolling campaign to like get Christians pissed off. And like, actually, it's very I have to say, it's very masterful the way they're doing it. And it's just funny to me that Christians are getting so like worked up so easily, because they should be more stoic in situations like this, but they're not. So, you know.
Don't let them influence you in any way, because they're controlled by the people who
Nice image right there.
really influence the world.
The main issue for any religion, the main issue is that Christ is king. Christ is the true king of Israel. Christ is the king of all kings. If you don't believe in Jesus Christ, you are wrong.
This Christmas, the meek shall inherit the action.
Surfing the apocalypse right there.
That's right.
Christian doctrine and I said kosher conservatives. That's what I call them, kosher conservatives. They know that not taking sides is resulting in supporting the status quo. I said, is that what they are, quote unquote, conserving?
Shout out to the big bro, Machine Lies. The fence sitters, right? What do they say in the Bible about lukewarm? God will spit you out.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Machine has so many quotable lines. I wish I had more time to like clip all of them up because he has so many like one-liners. I'm like, damn, dude, I need to write that down. Mind at all, please. I'm sure he's going to have something to add on to this because we're about to cover Alex Jones in a minute. So
yeah, so hop up here, intellectual underscore imbecile. Yeah, Stewie Griffin, you cretins and imbeciles. Yes, let's go.
Anyone that doesn't believe in Jesus Christ should not be in control or any influence to anything that America produces.
I want to chop it up. I want to pour gasoline on it. I want to throw it in a trash can because it's not alive. It's dead. I mean, that is the abomination. That is the
media.
Yes, it is. Yeah, the fucking AI is so sorry when it starts glitching the hands and the eyes. I mean, it has its place, I guess, for background shit, maybe, but yeah, not quite there. Now this is Gavin, right, from Vice. He has his own network now. Right?
Yep.
What's your thoughts on him? What's the deal on
him? Too complicated to say quickly. I would say in general, like I think that he is a good comedian, probably a bad person, but I mean, I don't want to say bad, but I mean, you know, he's probably like insincere in a lot of what he does, but you know, I don't know his heart, of course, but I think that he's just like a very, he's funny. Like, I think that I mean, he's made me laugh quite a lot. I think him and, I think his, producer, dude, his producer, I put him in a couple of my shows because, I mean, a couple of my, videos because like his producer does like an amazing impression of Jordan Peterson and, Jesse Lee Peterson. Jesse Lee Peterson is one of my favorite internet characters. Like,
troll, but who knows if he's really trolling? Like,
dude, he's hilarious. Dude, he makes me crack up. He is definitely a troll. Like, I don't know what his goal is, but he's a troll for sure.
Yeah, he has to be. He's born on a plantation.
Yeah, like I think his rhetoric. I think he's a master at rhetoric. I mean, at 80 years old, I mean, the dude is like a fucking master at rhetoric, in my opinion. I'm not even joking. I think Alex Jones, Jesse Lee Peterson, Owen Benjamin, these people are like masters at rhetoric, in my opinion.
Mike from Red Bar. Yeah.
He is also a very masterful rhetorician, in my opinion. Yeah.
These are digital magicians, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. Mike Red Bar is very friendly with Owen Benjamin, I think, because they kind of I don't think they promote each other, but Owen Benjamin heavily promotes Red Bar. And I think that Red Bar is very, very especially his older stuff, but he's still funny, man. Like, I mean, the dude is, I mean, I think trolling in general is just hilarious. Like, I think it's one of the funniest things ever, but not many people can do it well, you know?
No, they can't. It's funny with Mike. I like the way his attitude is. If you mention the word Red Bar and you're a quote unquote celebrity, he's like, that's a win for him. That's a victory. Doesn't matter if you say bad things or good things or whatever. It's like, it's a victory. He doesn't even have a YouTube channel and he's killing it. See, that's another thing. This is like on the back end about all the money he's probably making with his server because his private group, his Red Scar group, I think it's Scar Club, which is funny because I think he's making fun of Anthony Coumier's pitted face. That's why I called it his.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's funny.
Yeah, that's why I called it the Scar Club. So he's making like at least $50 a month, and he has thousands of members just to listen to his show for free. I mean, listen to his show first dibs. Yeah. So, well, he said wrong link. Is that the wrong link? And then this guy, Mageddis, Gavin, he was the catalyst behind the Proud Boys, right?
Exactly. Yep. And like, I don't know the full story about the Proud Boys, but like, I met some of these people in California at some of these like, you know, during the C-19 time, and I just get a bad feeling. Like, I mean, we know now what we know, but I think that it's one of these things. It's like, it's not to say that they're all bad people, but like, I just think in general, like, people, it's just weird, man. People congregate in a group like that, and they think that it's just going to be organic or whatever. And I just think that it's like, I mean, you have to be very careful, to say the least, right? So,
right, you have to be careful, especially with rants in the building.
Uh-oh.
The wild man
yo.
and stuff.
Yo.
How's it going, brother?
Chilling.
Okay. This, we're just doing the math on Alex Jones and his universe and his children.
Technology, politics, farming, medicine, prisons. If you do not believe in Christ and you're not following Christ in the decisions that you make, you should have no influence.
What's the point of that one right there? What were you going for with that?
The couple. Well, the video's lagging, but basically he's like saying like, "Oh, look, I've made it. I bought a Porsche and I bought my dream car." But the girl looks bored out of her fucking mind. So I think that's funny to me. It's like she looks like she doesn't even care, essentially.
Drinking the black pill. It's not about just money. No genuine desire.
That's part of Christian Zion. There's a whole list of Christian Zion.
Yeshua certainly hopped on the train to try to get Muslims.
The whole QAnon movement
will also form the foundation for conspiracy theory accounts of the so-called witches' Sabbath and also the anti-Semitic blood libels that generated in the Middle Ages in the centuries following Celis. Now, Celis isn't wholly responsible.
That Esoterica or something like that, right? That's channel.
Yeah, I wonder if Rant knows anything about him, but he is a very, very, very interesting person. Like, the more I've looked into this dude, he is a very strange person. And like, I respect the content, but I don't know. I think he definitely has ulterior motives. He's definitely a Luciferian or some shit. I'm pretty sure.
Look, man. All right. Look, I'm just saying. I'm very suspicious of people with tiny hats.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Anybody coming around with a tiny hat, bro?
Yeah. The smaller the hat, the more suspicious you get.
Well, yeah, because it doesn't fit the head. Number one, you know what I mean?
Common sense, right?
Yeah.
It's
like
goes
he
for those
stole
puzzles.
that. He stole that hat from a baby. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and the other funny part is like, so I heard this recently. I heard that this is supposed to be like a sign from like Spartacus when he was a free man. So they wear this hat to like say that they're like Spartacus and free. I was like, that's such a weird Roman or Greek or whatever reference. I'm like, that's kind of a weird thing. I don't know if that's true, but
you know what it is, bro? They got under each one of those little hats, there's a sheet of tinfoil, like really thick, to protect them from the EMFs, bro. And they got a little chip. It's GPS. You know what I'm saying? They can track themselves all over the planet.
Dude, I remember I think Potts was saying that you had the hoodie, Mike, the EMF hoodie or something like that before.
Yo, we made Torah compliant. You know what I mean? EMF protective hoods. You know what I'm saying? Fringes and all, bro. Blue ribbon in the corners.
That's dope.
You know what I mean? Up to 60 decibels of reduction.
Damn.
Wait, is it really Torah compliant though?
Yeah, bro. I was a Hebrew.
No, I know, but I mean, like, was there something in there that says don't be, thou shalt not have EMF to the head or something?
It can't be mixed fibers. It's got to have certain things to be like as a garment. It's got to have fringes, blue ribbon on the corners, on the border.
Nice.
What's up with the Saturn thing they wear on their head? Some of the sects.
They worship Saturn, dog.
Astrotheology, dude. I mean, if you look at my videos, like you'll see all the fucking weird symbology that I'm picking up. Like, I didn't even know what any of it meant until I met like people like Machine and Rant and shit. Like, I knew that it means something, but like the more and more I look, I'm like, damn, dude, this shit is so weird. And what's fucked up is like so many people are giving you bad takes on it on purpose, and that's the fucked up part. It's like a lot of people telling you like some totally bullshit stuff in order to like throw you off. That's the fucked up part. Like that's what I found out, and that's what's really frustrating. Yeah.
The crazy thing is that for every mystery, right? There's also like a bunch of other false mysteries, right? So like when you're like a Freemason, right? They'll be like, all right, the G, right, in the middle of the compass, it means geometry, right? And then that'll be correct up until a certain point, and then they'll be like, all right. It really means gnosis, right? So like you need to know in order to know. And then like you go down another rabbit hole, and then they're like, all right. Listen, it really means the generative principle. You know what I mean? Like it evolves. And so like depending on what level Mason you talk to, they're going to have different understandings. They might be trying to deceive you. They might not really fucking know. They deceive their own people. So when you have organizations that are designed and set up to deceive its own people all the way until the end, right? Everything they know besides the actual shapes of the symbols and the orientation, the real like teachings of them is obscured until the end. And usually they have to figure it out themselves because it's really Satan. So they're not just going to tell you. And then if you figure out the secret passcode and you fucking pass the test and you fucking agree to follow Satan, they let you in the club. Yeah. You get what I'm saying?
Unfortunately, I do understand what you're saying, and I'll tell you why. Like, I mean, I can tell you that, like, I basically saw some evidence today that I have confirmed, and I'm not going to say the name just because, like, I think that it's no point in me saying it, but like some of the people that I have long suspected are probably Satanists. Like, I pretty much confirmed today, like, they're fucking Satanists. So it's pretty fucked up. It's like, I mean, in my opinion, like, I mean, I'm convinced that maybe I can't convince anybody else, but like, I am 100% convinced. And some of these people are calling themselves Christians, and I think that's pretty interesting, you know?
Oh yeah, that's different. Straight up, weird. Like I told you, some of the other sectors of the internet, like there's people that are here now on our panelverse that like they're proud Satanists. They're proud of it, right?
But those aren't the real ones, bro. The ones that are out here in public are out here to look like basically like not a threat, so that you don't feel like Satanism is a threat, and so that you feel like, oh, it's just them silly fucking goth kids at the mall, bro. You know, with the Necronomicon outside of Hot Topic. That's not what real Satanists are. You know what I mean? Real Satanists wear suits. They go to church. You understand?
Yeah, we talked about that last time.
They're probably a preacher. You know, they're probably the priest. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that movie Hot Fuzz by the guys who made Shaun of the Dead. Yeah, the movie with Simon Pegg and shit like that. Dude, that movie I think is like a very intense, like telling the truth kind of movie.
You mean the one where the Hot Fez or whatever, where the whole town was like living a double life as murderers?
Yep.
Yeah, I love that movie. Yeah. And the guy's telling you, Timothy Dalton's telling you the whole time he's the one. He's the killer. Like, and that's how it is probably. These people are very blatant about, well, some of them at least. Right?
So
the guy, go ahead.
You could look at like statistically, right? 5% of all human beings are going to be psychopaths, and 5% are going to be sociopaths, and there's a small percentage that are both. And these secret societies aim to find these people, right? Isolate them from the rest of the herd and utilize them. You understand? You gotta realize that they've developed ways of creating psychopaths artificially. And so that's what the ritualistic abuse is and all this other shit. It's along the lines of implanting demons, but I mean, essentially, what it appears to be on the external is that they're creating psychopaths and sociopaths. So then we can't, like, you don't have to question why the people who run shit do the shit they do. They're psychopaths that have been put into place and bred for that job.
Yeah, and unfortunately, when you say the word bread, you might actually mean literally as well. That's the fucked up thing that I'm finding out, apparently. So
100%, bro. Why do you think it's all families that are all controlling this shit for generations? It's because they have kids, you know, and like even going back to the ancient times, like royalty would have a fucking marriage that would bring the kingdoms together, but then their lineage would be the combination of royalty plus royalty. You see?
well, I mean, that's why I like see, this is why I like history. Like, if you see, people always talk about like Alexander the Great and shit, but then like if you actually look at the story of his birth and shit, that's where it starts getting really interesting. Like, who was his dad? Who was his mom? What was going on? I mean, it's a very Conan the Barbarian-esque kind of weird shit going on. You know what I mean? It's like very I think a lot of these movies are like actually telling you the story. Like they did a movie about like Aladdin, like the story Aladdin, or like Sinbad, or one of these old stories. It's like actually about Jews, but they say it's like Middle Eastern people or some shit. And Machine talked about that a little bit too, and it's like kind of mind blowing because they make you think, oh, this is Muslim people back in the Arab time. It's like, no, that's Phoenicians, and they give you all the symbology to let you know.
If you understand the satanic mind, right, the way that they operate, the people that run the world, is that it's very simple to decode their shit. Like, you don't have to know hidden messages. You don't have to know secret numerical values, right? It's actually much more simple. When you understand that they're operating in the satanic mind, the way they communicate with each other is that they simply invert everything. Everything's inverted. You understand? So if they tell you, right, that you got to go and get something or you're going to die, that means you have to not get it or you're going to die. Just invert everything. They tell you this is the good guy, that's the bad guy. They tell you that's the bad guy, that's the good guy. Don't you understand?
Well,
That's how it works.
and I'm noticing that a lot of these Christians are like saying, well, you can't just, and I'm not going to say the name, but they said something very specific along those lines. They said something to the effect of like, basically they would say this, they would say like, you know, if something's inverted, you can't just re-invert it and then that's the truth. And I think that they kept saying this over and over again to pull you away from what you just said, which is like, they don't want you to decode what they're trying to do to you.
So look, I agree up until a point, right? You can't completely invert the whole thing. That's where you would go wrong. You get what I'm saying? Like, if you
but my point is, I know this person. I'm almost positive that this person is a Satanist. But you know,
if you don't get this, you will die. Right? You can't invert every word. You have to just invert the one word. If you get this, you will die. If you don't get this, it's like negation. You have to anti-negate it or add negation.
Right.
Not gonna invert a whole sentence.
But my point is, though, but that's the other thing is, like, people say that a lot of these Satanists are lying, but what they do is they're not fully lying. What they're doing is using a word, and if you don't know what they're actually saying, then that's on you, and then you're
double speak.
Right, exactly. Yep.
So they won't lie to you, right? They're not going to sit here and tell you, like, I make a lot of money, right? Like, I'll just give you an example. A dude that doesn't make a lot of money isn't going to be like, I don't make a lot of money, right? They're not going to say, I got a bullshit job doing stocking Walmart, right? So they'll come up and be like, you know, I'm an inventory specialist for a multi-million-dollar corporation. You know what I'm saying?
The resume says that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not lying, but it's double speak. You know what I'm saying? Like like you're obfuscating what it is in reality and either pumping it up or playing it down based on the words. So it definitely sounds better than I stock shelves.
Well, see, that's what a lot of my videos are actually about. And it's again, like when I made a lot of the videos, I didn't really have like hard opinions about a lot of people. But like the more and more I kept cutting up what they're saying and like watching their facial expressions and watching like what else they're talking about right before and right after, I'm like, these motherfuckers are like double speaking the fuck out of everybody. It's like it's really obvious at a certain point, you know.
You know, like so I was watching some fucking movie where they were like, but you said you came here to save us, right? And they were talking to like Keanu Reeves, who was an alien. And he was like, I said, I came here to save Earth from you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, they thought the whole time that Keanu Reeves was the alien that was going to save them, but he was just telling them, I'm here to save Earth. He never told them that he was there to save Earth from them. You know what I mean?
Sounds like theosophy or some Earth worship cult. Sounds like
it sounds like Thanos phonetically the same too. What he was doing too.
Yeah, that's double speak though. You know what I mean? Like the whole time the people were deceived, but he never lied.
Right. It's more like they just interpreted that to mean the people of Earth, but he said no, Earth. I didn't say you, motherfucker.
See, now here's the thing, right? The wicked people believe that that's acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
And they believe they can skirt karmic law by doing so. But at the end of the day, most of the time their intentions in the beginning was to use that language to deceive.
See, and this is what I was just saying to him at the beginning of the stream. It's the intent almost always shines through at the end of the day. And I think that's really...
What else could you be held accountable but for intent? Because intent is the difference between deliberate and accidental. You see, if you accidentally kill someone because it was just some crazy shit that happened that you couldn't foresee, that's not murder. But if you planned it out, you see the difference?
Mm-hmm.
No, and I think this is where a lot of the people that we speak to are like lost, and they're like, oh, how can God judge us or this or that? It's like he's judging you on your heart. And like, dude, I can't tell you how many times I've been talking to Christians on these panels and shit, and like I say some shit like that, and they do not want to talk about that. They're like, shut the fuck up about that. We want to talk about the church is going to do this, or we got to like stop degeneracy. We got to do this or that. They never talk about intent. They never talk about your heart. They never talk about any of this. Like they don't want to talk about that. And it's dawned on me. It's like, I thought it was like maybe something wrong with like me. And then I realized like these people are like trying to get people to not understand what you just said. You know,
I think there is something wrong with you unless, I mean, you're obviously doing work. You're trying to wake them up, but maybe that there is something wrong to even invest that much time with them, because you're starting to see like how whacked out of their mind they are. You know,
it's so
me including.
So like there's people, right, out in the world that are bad people inside. Right? They don't try to change. They know they're bad people and they're okay with that. For a person that's like that, right? They're never going to be able to see the truth because the way that they are blinds them from it. And until they change what they are, they're never going to be able to see it. No matter what language you speak it or paint it, or it doesn't matter.
They won't.
You got so many people that sit there and they'll like study the Bible,
mm-hmm.
and they claim to like love Jesus and all this shit, but they don't even understand Jesus. They don't even get it. You still got people that are picking up the New Testament and going straight Pharisee legalistic with the wording. I myself have fallen into it. It's a trap. If you really listen to what Jesus is saying, he's like, yo, I am the truth. He's like, I am the word. You know what I mean?
All right. And that changes the way you read the whole rest of the Bible. And see, this is what I try to explain to people is like, if you understand what Jesus says first, then you read the rest of everything else that's going on. It all makes sense. But then it's like people, like you said, they can't see it. They literally, I can sit there and explain every word that this man is trying to tell you. And then it just goes right by them. And I've only read the New Testament literally like once, maybe twice, and I'm like, and most people, like, when they talk to me and they're like, you didn't study the Bible like me. I'm like, you study the Bible, but you say like you literally say worse than nothing. It's like you're leading people to hell, in my opinion. You know, it's like, that's my opinion. But
there's a chance they don't even know, though. See, that's the dilemma.
Yep.
Like,
get this. Okay, keep going, Mike.
Like, we don't know their intent. We just see what it appears to be. And also, most of the time, we're weighing out the fact that they might not even be capable of what we're seeing. They might be controlled by another entity. Sometimes you give people too much credit. And it's like they're just winging it, and they don't realize that there's a demon that's like controlling them, deeply rooted in some kind of fucked up shit inside them. And you're out there observing that, thinking, and you know what I mean? Like we give these people credit for being even capable of the stuff that they're doing, and most of them aren't. They're just puppets. You know what I mean? Most of the time, you're out here not trying to teach someone. You're not dealing with a person. They don't want to learn. You're just battling a demon who has someone under their control. You know what I mean? And like literally, you're fighting for the soul of that man. You know what I'm saying? And they'll hate you for it too. They'll hate you. Like, how dare you fight for my soul and disagree with me?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think generally specific is the first person that comes to mind, but
yeah, him and his friend Richard seems like a nice guy and all, but like when you're talking about the Bible, like reading the Bible just to read it or whatever, it's like, what are you talking about, dude?
Who's Richard?
That dude with that weird symbol, remember you called him out, and he was like, remember they baited you onto that channel to talk about the Bible, and then they ganged up on you and it's like said that you're like of the devil and you're a liar and all this shit. They did the same thing to me the day before. It's like they were like totally twisting the Bible out of context and shit. Remember?
I mean,
I
went there to watch them do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And he seems to,
dude, it was the craziest
day that he's showing us something.
I mean, they didn't fuck with me on their show. They just exposed themselves as fucking lunatic, lying gaslighters.
Dude, that was one of the craziest panels I've ever seen in my life. Like that was definitely one of the that was one of the most revealing, like the quickest revealing of someone I've ever seen in my life. Like I already knew because of my experience the day before, but you basically just confirmed what I had pretty much assumed in like the first 5 minutes of listening to that dude talk. I was like, dude, there's something off. Like, I couldn't tell what it was, but I was like, something's off.
That's what I'm saying, bro. You don't have to like pre-plan shit. It's about intentions, right? My intentions were one thing. Their intentions were something completely different. I didn't have to know that. I could assume it. But as long as I act the same way that I would act with my good intentions, their bad intentions are going to clash up against that. Like just, you know what I mean? Oil and water. And it's so apparent. It's like, whoa. You know what I mean? This isn't an argument. This isn't a debate.
Yeah. Well, they can talk all that Bible stuff too. But the point is, I'm going to make it personal. Look at GS. He's always on stream. He says he has a family. You never see him. This other guy, Richard, when he told the story, his backstory, he wiped up a single mom with 4 kids, and then she dumped him, and he gave her his house. And it's like, How is these works like? What do you have to show for your life? And when I talk to you gentlemen, it's like all three of us. I hear at times we can hear our kids in the background because one, we're not online all the time, but two, I mean that's an important part of our purpose. Not to speak for you guys, but like, I mean, we literally are in our children's life, you know, and our partner's life, and these people are just wild and out, bro.
These people are not actually people. That's why it appears that way. You know, like, you're not actually dealing with who you see. You're dealing with a fucking, most of the time, you're dealing with some type of agent. You know what I mean? You're like, whether or not it's a paid agent or just a fucking agent of fucking chaos that the devil has riled up with some type of fucking, you know what I mean? Some type of shortcomings. Because at the end of the day, you don't come out here and just fight people who are trying to fucking teach you about God for no reason. You know what I mean? And another thing is, you know, at the end of the day, most people that'll disagree with you about shit don't actually know the scriptures at all. To the point where, like I've gotten past the people that quote scripture. Like, I'm not going to sit here and hit you with scriptures bars, right? I like to speak using just straight scripture. And then when you disagree with me, I know where you're at. You don't disagree with me. You disagree with scripture and you don't know it. If you knew the scripture, like when I say things, I'm using sentences from the Bible. They're sitting there disagreeing with the Bible, not me. That's the beauty of just, the next time you enter into a biblical debate with someone, quote scripture, but don't tell them where it's from and don't tell them it's from the Bible, and watch where it goes.
Don't fight it.
Just speak from the Bible, but don't quote it.
Well, I like to paraphrase the Bible a lot. Like, what I'll do is I'll just basically paraphrase it, because it's basically like timeless, you know, wisdom for the most part. And I'll just like paraphrase it, and then people are like, "That sounds like bullshit," and I'm like, "Okay, well, you know, let's dig into that." And then it's like, it just gets really weird really fast. Like, you realize like these people just hate truth. It's like literally, I've been in that situation where like you say the truth and someone like,
it's because they're not people.
Yeah, they go away and something else comes after you. Like in real life, this has happened. This is not like on. I mean, like in real life, people like fucking want to kill you. Basically,
there's way more bad people than good people. Like, there's way more. So when you have conversations, you have to expect a lot of those people to have bad intentions rather than good. It's just the way it is. Because if they don't agree with you, right? If they don't agree with you and you're taking a stance, right, that's trying to promote goodness, what are they fighting? What are they really fighting? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, this guy Esoterica is all about it. Like, if you look at what he's talking about right here, it's very interesting. He says, "Oh, the witch burnings was a proto QAnon movement, essentially." So it's like basically like, if you don't like witches, you're a fucking conspiracy tard that wants to storm the Capitol or something. It's like,
I mean, just the QAnon, like the hot, you know, very hot word, that triggers people. Like, there are some. I mean, I looked over some of the stuff. There's a lot of interesting things that seem to be match up. So they throw everything that's in that, like, under the you know, with the away with the baby in the bathwater. So,
well, the devil can quote scripture too, though. So that's the other side of it. Like, you have to be very, very careful. Like, you know, the devil's going to tell you the truth 99.9% of the time. It's just that one little thing. He's going to be like, by the way, you know, let me just sprinkle a little thing on here for you.
Now, Celis isn't wholly
Isn't he talking about himself? Actually, kind of hypocritical right there. That guy.
Yeah, that's why I played it like
Yeah.
that, because he's like saying, I bought 42 houses to make $6,000 a month. I'm like, dude, if it took you 40 houses to buy make $6,000 a month, you're doing something fucking wrong, dude. It's like, that's why I'm saying it's like, it's very weird. Like,
Probably not in America.
well, supposedly he's in America, and I'm like, dude, how fucking
Right, divided by 42. What kind of rent is he exactly getting on these 42 houses? Right.
yeah, I mean, that's why I'm saying it's really weird. That's why I put a list of him on the video.
It's probably like third world country shit where he bought 42 like one bedrooms and he's renting them out for like I don't know, like $100 a month. You know what I mean? Making like $6,000 a month.
Well, this
Yeah.
B-roll showing, like when it shows his family, his wife, that don't look like no third world country right there, unless they're on vacation.
Well, he doesn't have to live in the third world country to own property and rent them.
Yeah, that's true.
Like right now, I could have properties in the Philippines if I have someone out there managing them for me.
Well, that's the key right there, having someone manage it before.
Yeah. See what he said there? He said, I got 40 properties and I make $6,000 a month. I'm like, dude, that's fucking.
It sucks.
That's only about $100 a property a month. So
yeah, that's fucked, dude. That's like you basically put a little cardboard box in like fucking the Dominican Republic and say, hey, give me $100. See, it's like,
I mean, you could get one property in America that'll make that in Airbnbs a month.
I know. Look at that 40. Is that the flex or what? Or is he trying to make himself like an uncommon commonality?
He's so successful at what he does. He needs you to pay him $5,000 to teach you how to. You're going to make $6,000 a month.
I'm getting Tom Vu vibes. You guys remember him, the first infomercial guy, Tom Vu, with the
No, I don't know who that is.
Asian guy. You don't remember that?
No,
that's classic. That's classic.
It could also be that, like, it could be that he don't own them. He could be a realtor that rented out 40 properties and he gets like a royalty.
I guess, but he's trying. This dude is definitely one of these guys selling like some sort of like program or course or some shit. I don't know, but that's why I put it in there.
It's all bullshit, bro. But with a business partner.
Jody.
Bro, Jody High Roller, bro.
Yeah, that's him singing, but I took his old video and put it with his new song, so that's why it's all kind of weird looking.
Him singing?
That's Jody High Roller, bro.
Yeah, that's him singing. Yeah, that's Riff Raff singing.
He's totally surprised me because when I saw him in G's the Jet back in the day, bro, I thought like we'll never see this guy again, bro. But he's made a career for himself on this satire.
Well, he's talented, but he's definitely like taking the fucking ticket. Let's just put it that way. But
seems like he's lost his mind, but he's definitely doing.
He's out there hanging out in Miami with the fucking people, sex trafficking or some shit. I don't know.
He does a lot of drugs.
Definitely, yeah. But Project Monarch.
That's why I put the butterfly there.
This is like Vietnam right here.
Everything is
that for grade one. That's for grade one racing.
Something like that.
I think I heard the Shadow Buddha was telling me that he's the biggest donator to the Whatever podcast.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
crazy,
really
bro.
strange. That's very strange. I don't even want to know. Like, honestly, I'm scared if I know that, I'll probably get popped in the head for knowing why that is, but okay.
I'm telling you on that speakeasy. Shout out to Speakeasy on the Speakeasy broadcast. He was quick to show everyone that he got his Hawk 2 for President 2024. Mr. Christian man right there.
Yeah. Well, that's what Jesus wants you to do. Get some dumbass bitch to hawk to it.
Hawk to your drink.
It's up to God. And God has proven to me many times that it's not about what I want or what I would like. It's just up to Him.
Oh, Cholino! Wow, you got me, bro.
The Israelis have some very powerful allies at the very least. That's my personal opinion. If what Machine Lies is saying true, I think that they have some very powerful allies, and my curiosity lies in, if that's the case, who are those people and why? What is their motivation in supporting such a thing? And that's kind of the interesting side of the story that I've been trying to explore. I call Christianity a lens, and I would say that questions like lenses as well, because with the question in mind, you start to re-examine all the things that you know, and then you can kind of make some assumptions that some very powerful allies.
Yeah, the Christianity lens. But first of all, this visual, you're giving me the chills, man. This is me, man. This is my family, bro. He got that letter right there saying that we're gonna kill you after the show. He kept performing and shit, man. His
See, I told you, man. I know shit, man.
Yeah, man. This is the real deal right here, man. Cholino, he's the Mexican Tupac. Fuck,
pretty
man.
much.
Yeah. And when you were saying though, let's get the words that you were saying though. First of all, Kanye, he was dropping knowledge right there, keeping it real right there with what he was saying.
It's just up to Him.
The Israelis have some very powerful allies at the very least. That's my personal opinion. If what Machine Lies is saying true, I think that they have some very powerful allies, and my curiosity lies in, if that's the case, who are those people and why? What is their motivation in supporting such a thing? And that's kind of the interesting side of the story that I've been trying to explore. I call Christianity a lens, and I would say that questions are like lenses as well, because with the question in mind, you start to re-examine all the things that you know, and then you can kind of make some assumptions that aren't necessarily true.
So from a Christian lens, Mike, Rant, and Silver Tongue, what do you think about Benjamin Netanyahu addressing Congress and calling out Iran the other day?
I think that
wants to kill Trump.
I think this is all fake. So
yeah,
I don't believe any.
I'll second that. I think that it's like, I think that it's a big giant show that I don't know what it's trying to portray, but it's basically just telling you like, well, I think if you watch the rest of this video, it'll tell you what I think. I think what this dude's about to tell you, will tell you exactly what I think.
Who is this Rabbi such and such?
Something like that. You'll see.
Let's see.
That's a mistake. You should be worshiping every single.
Been trying make some assumptions that aren't necessarily true.
Just to call it as it is and say it straight out, you guys are worshiping one Jew. That's a mistake. You should be worshiping every single one of us, because we all die for your sins every single day. And that's exactly what's going on here.
Yeah. We're all God's firstborn. We're dying for your sins right now because the Jewish people in the land of Israel are the bulwark
against the orcs. Okay? The orcs are coming not to a theater near you, but to your home.
Pastor Mike. That nose, bro. He can smoke a cigarette in the rain. Shout out to Christopher. That one, yeah. You zoomed in on that motherfucker. That Toucan Sam. But
I was trying to zoom in more, but I think I couldn't.
Extreme zoom in. But But what is he saying? We should worship him. We shouldn't just. I assume he's referring to Jesus.
He's
right?
saying he said you should worship every single one of us because we're dying for your sins, and if you don't, we're gonna send the orcs to your house.
Ooh, the Chechens,
Those are
real orcs.
That's who he's talking about.
The Chechens, man.
Nah, bro. He was saying that they're the bulwark between the orc, and that's essentially Islam, bro.
Yes, exactly. He's basically saying we're gonna let Islam loose on you, motherfuckers, if you don't get with the program.
That's the Chechens, bro. To me, they're the orcs. They resonate. They're
It's
orcs
not
resonate.
the Chechens, bro. It's the
Islamic
whole,
Europeans.
it's the whole shebang. Like, you gotta realize this, right? These people manufactured their own version of what they wanted Islam to be and nurtured it into this very day, into what it is now. You don't know what Islam used to be. Just like you don't know, like, Islam could be so far away from its origin, right, that it could be equivalent to Christianity today. And as far as that is away from the teachings of Jesus. Would that be so far-fetched to believe?
Well, that's pretty much what I think's happened to Christianity. So, yep.
And I think that the main reason why this was able to be done is because people refused to believe that their scripture could be edited. Every one of them. Like, every individual thinks their scripture is the unaltered word of God. And the problem is, none of them are. Ha-ha!
Or at the very least, it's been interpreted and reinterpreted and reinterpreted and reinterpreted to the point where it's like, you can make it say whatever you want. Like this video I have of Peter Thiel, who says the Bible reads you.
So simple, right? The word of God is the truth. And the truth is, all of these books have been edited. There is evidence to support that statement. Period. If the book was edited, then it is not the unaltered word of God. Unless God got it wrong in the beginning and someone had to correct it for him.
So knowing that, how do you proceed? How does one proceed next?
I just told you, the truth is the word of God. It's very simple. So, like,
well, I guess I need even more clarification. But like, what is the truth then?
So, Jesus Christ came to provide, right, mankind with an example of what God is, because mankind did not know what God is to compare it to. So anything could just say, I'm God. And they're like, okay, I believe you. Right. And essentially mankind was following the devil, and the devil was masquerading as God. So when Jesus Christ says, I come in my Father's name, that doesn't mean that God's name is Jesus Christ. What it means is that the Hebrew connotation of the name was the character of the man. Like when Jacob became Israel because his character had changed. Jesus Christ came in the name of his Father. He came in the character of God, which is benevolent perfection. He did not sin. And so when you understand that this is what Jesus was, he was of love. He was of benevolence. Then it's really hard to believe that the Pharisees were following God. And this is why he told them, you are of your father, the devil, who was a murderer since the beginning. You know what I'm saying? This is what it was really about. Like, Jesus was basically breaking out that fact, but he was doing it in such a way that he was really expounding on this in so many ways. And this is why they murdered him, bro. They killed him because he brought the truth. And even in the Old Testament, it'll say, in the suffering servant, Isaiah 53, and by his knowledge, my people will be healed. My people will be saved. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care like, Jews can't get around Isaiah 53. They've taken it out of their readings. When they read the Bible, they read like a certain fucking chapter, like every time they meet up or whatever, they skip over Isaiah 53. Because that's one chapter that's like a silver bullet. into their heart that they'll have to just sit there and deal with. And I think they're trying to fucking edit the timeline and do like some kind of Mandela effect to actually take that out.
Mhm.
I think that's what it's all about. Like they're trying to pull a Mandela effect to edit the Bible at this point in time.
In that rhetoric he's speaking, that harsh rhetoric of basically you need to worship them Jews. Is that from that other supplement book that some of them use? It escapes my mind real quick. What's that other Jewish? There's the Torah, and then there's
the Babylonian Talmud, bro. Is there
there you go. There you go. Yeah.
It's like
Thanks.
they have like an encyclopedia, bro. It's like many, many books. And, you know, I've sat here and argued with Jews about it, and they just make claims like, oh, well, that's not what we believe. That's just part of an argument, you know? But it's just kind of like ridiculous. Like it's all bullshit. And they derive their beliefs from this book, and they hold it basically above the Bible. You know what I mean? Like the Bible is for the masses. It's for like the general people to read the book and be like, okay, this is what the Jews believe. Got it.
It's an interpretation of the book, essentially, is what it is. Exactly. Yeah.
No. I mean, like the Torah, right? The Old Testament is like a book that the Jews intended for the public to be reading. Like it's not what they really believe. It's just what they put out there. Like they can't tell you they worship the devil. They told you what they were willing to tell you, and the Torah is encrypted in gematria.
So I guess what I'm saying is they don't believe in the Torah at all, essentially, or they just have an encryption code in it.
They believe in it, but they don't believe in it in the way that we understand it. Like the Old Testament is not.
It's encrypted, essentially. It's an encrypted book, essentially.
So it reads one way, like a normal book that's acceptable by most people, right? And then it reads another way, the way it was intended to be read. And they're both valid. The way they did it with like mathematics and the way that they separate the words. They wrote it originally in an abjad, and there was no spaces. So you could interpret it, like you could read the words different ways.
Well, just to take it back to the beginning of this conversation with NPC, you know, we were talking about race, and it's like basically the whole concept of race comes out of Platonism and Judaism. So like really when people are saying, oh, white people are racist, or they put black people down or whatever, it's like all this is coming out of that, in my opinion. Like I don't think that the term race existed outside of those concepts, essentially.
Here's a little known fact, okay? And no Jew will really admit this to you, but they can't get around it. Genesis starts with Bereshit, right? Which means in the beginning, right? But it has to start with an A. It's not supposed to start with a B. So we have a problem.
Say that one more time.
The Old Testament, the way we've been given it, starts with the word Bereshit, which means in the beginning. Like in the beginning. Well, I think it actually means like created in the beginning. But my point is that Genesis starts with a B, a bet. It's supposed to start with an aleph, the way that the book is written. So there's evidence that it's been edited in the first line of the book.
Right. But what I'm saying is like the concept of racism doesn't exist without Jews and Platonism. Would you agree with that, or not really?
No, not really. I think that, so, like, I've lived in all different parts of the world, and I'm from New York City. And what I know is that people treat any outsider differently. It's just the way it is. It's like it's part of human nature. It's part of a defense mechanism of human nature to keep yourself safe.
Dogs do that even. I wouldn't see it in my house. Everything.
Now,
But
like,
my point is the way they framed the United States is like, well, they just kept white people down, or they're just, I mean, white people kept everybody down, or whatever. I mean, that's kind of like what I'm saying is like that's a miscontextualization of like what was actually going on, right?
So if you, like I said earlier, if you understand the satanic mind, when they're telling you that white people are racist, they're actually just creating racism against white people. You know what I mean? Like, when they're telling you white people are keeping everyone down, what they're really trying to tell you is we need to start keeping white people down. That, like, they speak backwards. You know what I'm saying? And they're not like necessarily always communicating to you. They're communicating to their agents, which are stationed in power positions that are going to create the agenda for organizations, for schools, for churches. So it doesn't matter if you understand.
With that that way you laid that out, what do you call it when certain white people throughout American history would kill non-white people, sometimes, be it some Native Americans or Black Americans?
Well, why?
Why?
Yeah.
Mostly I think it's for land and profit, or maybe some of them because they.
What land did Black people have in America?
I said land and profit.
Well, what profits you to kill a Black man?
For his labor.
Well, if you want labor, then you can't kill them. Number one.
Well, you can't, but like many were killed because of that. You're
saying they were killing them. You know what I mean? And I'm just saying there's no profit in killing them.
Okay, then killing them in general. I mean, whatever the reason was for.
Why were they killing them?
No, I said, what do you call it? Because we said it's what was it? Fucking what did you say in the beginning? Neurojack,
I mean,
about
how do you think the Black people got here in the first place?
The Black people, some probably were here before white people came here. Some probably came when white people came here. Some probably
I'm saying the ones in question.
Well, some of them came from probably on ships from Africa.
All right, so basically, right, Black people sold Black people to Jewish merchants.
Correct.
That's what happened. The Jews imported Black people from Black people who enslaved their own people for profit, number one. Number two, America was created by this Kabbalistic Jewish satanic understanding where slavery was okay biblically. And in a lot of Islamic countries, you'll find slavery should, like, they stand for slavery. So this was their biblical understanding. And the people that were perpetrating these crimes were fucking retarded and brainwashed by Satanists. Now, it's not saying that they're correct. They're inhumane. They're wicked. But that's why. You know, why did it happen? Because the satanic Luciferian cabal organized it to happen.
Yeah. I didn't ask why, but that is a good explanation of why it happened.
No, you did ask why. You said, why were they killing them?
No. The whole point was it was.
So what do you call it? You know what I mean?
You call it. Yeah, that's what I said. Because he was saying, because it was addressing Neurojack when he said there's people that are saying that white people were going around oppressing, non-white people in America, and that's like some along lines of that. And
if you want to call it something, you could call it the devil deceiving the world.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this shit is crazy as fuck.
Well, and the thing is this, like, let's say that you're resistant to that because of historical or whatever ways that you look at it. Here's the thing. If you boil everything down to the simplest way to understand it, it makes way more sense from my point of view that what Rand is saying is like a more accurate thing. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't go and put nuance on it for this or that reason, but the point is, like, most of that nuance is actually playing right into the very thing that we're referring to, and that's kind of the funny part about it. Like, to me at least, it's like sometimes the nuance is actually to get you back in the same trap that you're trying to avoid, which is evil, essentially.
Yeah. I'll just pick out from what all this, the point that retarded people were doing, evil shit. The people who were doing those things, it's, that's the simplest way for me to look at it.
Basically, really evil people have been casting witchcraft on mankind and making us do all kinds of atrocious shit to each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like all the wars right now that you see, these are mostly being fought by people who don't really want to go and murder these other people, but they're being forced to by one way or another to do these atrocities against each other. They've been told that the other guy is the enemy and they're doing the right thing and saving their family. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, and the thing is this, it's like, and again, this is why like a lot of my art or a lot of my videos, I guess I'd say, is like really just more like it's I'm embracing the fact that Mean Mr. Mustache did this, or the Jews said this, or the white people did this, or the black people did this. Like the whole point is to say that essentially that these are all narratives, essentially, right? And so one of the reasons I chop everything up into pieces is like, you can actually make a narrative out of anything for any reason. That's kind of my point of the whole thing. Like
was telling people to stop the violence, right? This is why he was telling people this shit, even though it sounds kind of crazy. Like if someone comes and slaps you, turn the other cheek. It was because he understood that these wicked people are going to pit us against each other. And he knew the only way to stop it was to break the cycle of violence and revenge.
We'll go deeper and say, like, I'm sure he has something to say about the fact that, yes, they were committing violence against other people. However, what about the violence everyone in the world's committing against themselves every day, which probably teaches them to commit against other people?
You'd have to elaborate on that.
Well, I'm bringing it back to the self in the sense that people do all kinds of fucked up shit to their neighbors and people they live around. And the way I see this, because you're not being true to yourself and taking care of yourself in a caring, healthy way. Through it, the thoughts you have about how you view yourself and put down yourself. A lot of folks, the way the food they put in and the content they put in their mind. So of course, it's gonna it's gonna come out in the way they treat others around them, because they fucking murder and steal from themselves constantly.
I mean, I don't really know, because I've seen a lot of different things. I've seen people that were straight up like homeless, ate and drank nothing but poison, and treated everyone great. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think, because like even you look biblically, like it's not what goes in your mouth that defiles a man, but what comes out of it.
What about the way you talk to yourself?
So I mean, yo, have you ever talked to yourself in a negative way which caused you to do better in life? You got to understand that.
Yeah, partly in the equation. Yeah, there is a bit of like example of I'm like, you're being lazy. You need to
you can't
suck it up and go harder or whatever. But then
you can't become you can't become a fucking
hold on. But then it becomes, but the other part of the equation is also talk to myself with mercy as well.
You can't become a clitoris, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, too many people think that being good and being godly is to be like a pussy, and that's not what it is.
I don't believe that.
Well, a lot of people do. That was my statement.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you're a lot of people, bro. You think a lot of different, ideas, and that's why I even talk to you. Most people think bullshit. They don't know shit.
Yeah,
that's half the battle.
I think everyone does, all of them. I'll just be nice and say, like, on this line we don't, but in this sense, everyone does to a certain extent. Yeah.
A lot of people is retarded.
Mm-hmm.
It just is what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. It seems like every single person on this video is
against the orcs. Okay, the orcs are coming not to a theater near you, but to your home.
Pastor Mike, what does Jesus Christ certified mean to you?
You know, I had to think about this one actually for a little bit, and the word certified. Actually, I think the definition of certification means that you meet a quality or standard.
Is that true, guys? Do you see truth in that?
I don't even know, bro. I tuned out when this video started.
I don't think certification's in the Bible, so I think it's kind of a moot point. But I think what he says right after this is very interesting.
Okay, let's go.
In support of what they call Palestinian self-defense, they're calling for the end to decades of ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. Counter-protesters showed up in support of Israel, speakers leading chants, holding signs, and making their voices heard.
It's kind of a crazy thought, because that I would walk around this life in all my mess, in all my sin, in all my shortcoming, but yet still have the attitude or posture of being approved, of having the stamp of this is quality, this is good enough. It's kind of, there's a tension there between our flesh and what God actually says about it.
Yeah, I don't believe in all that. Because, like, yo, at the end of the day, right, you can't sit here and say you're, like, full of sin, and the idea that you're perfect anyway allows you to walk around like you're perfect.
He said the word, using that word posture, I think, is a very poor choice of words. Like, he's saying, oh, I can just posture as if I'm good. It's like, that's a very fucking slippery slope right there.
Is that delusional confidence? What he's talking kind of?
Well, yo, no, it's like, there's a guy, bro, his name's Perry the Preacher. He has this kind of same craziness. It's called sinless perfection. Essentially, right, like, you can't, like, all right, so if you are saved, right, then you stop committing sins. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not that you're saved and all the sins you continue to commit don't count. It's not how it works. That's just
Right, exactly.
Satanism, bro. That's where
Right.
you can sin and it is not sin.
Yep.
You know what I
It's
mean?
very, and if you see the way he said it, it's very confusing to the average person. But if you really listen very carefully what he's saying, he's basically saying, well, I fuck up all the time and it's fine. It's like, that's basically what he's saying.
There's a dude, Perry the Preacher, and he has a couple of scriptures that he'll quote for you in a chain. And if you stay within that chain, he's undefeatable. He has the whole Bible figured out in 5 or 6 verses that explain to you that if you sin, you're of the devil. And if you believe in Christ or whatever, then you're saved, right? So basically, his whole doctrine boils down to sin is when you call it sin. As long as you don't call it sin, then you're not a sinner. And you're perfect. And then go and be perfect. And that's his doctrine. And he gets people all the time to believe in this. And this is Satanism in its finest. And yo, if you ever find the dude, bro, look him up, bro. Perry the Preacher.
Okay.
Yeah,
Perry
and
the
it's very very subtle. And again, like, this is why, like, I'm just shocked. Like, almost every church I've ever been to is suffering from this problem. Like, they use very, very subtle language to, like, program you, and then, like, you ask one question and, like, you're pretty much like, get the fuck out of this church right now. Like, that's the way they act to you. It's like, you don't question, essentially.
Well, that's what it is, bro. Because if you question it, right? If they allowed people to question what they teach, right, then no one would believe it. When you tell people they can't question it, they even take that as far as to not question it in their own mind. And then you can get them to believe anything. They're never going to question it, never physically or mentally. You know what I mean? And they use very simple ways to dismiss it. They're just like, well, no one can know God's will, God's plan. No one can know it. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and then see, and again, this is where they use the legalistic language, and they basically say, well, since we don't know it, then basically I can just do whatever the fuck I want. I mean, that's basically what they're trying to say. You know
what the Jews say when something happens that's bad? They don't say it's bad. They say, well, I know this is good because everything God does is good, but I cannot see the good in it.
Spin doctor.
It's that it's good, but they just don't know how it's good. You see?
Well, and I guess if you're trying to say that if you're trying to do this whole like everything is God, I guess you could try to say that, but that's the thing. That's why I think a lot of the science is trying to basically like break down all truth, essentially. Like that's why they have this whole thing called post-truth, because essentially they're trying to like take truth as like a little porcelain doll and take a hammer and just smash it into a billion pieces and say, well, there's no such thing as truth anymore. I mean, that's basically the way I see science and all this stuff is like,
dude,
and language and all that too.
The Jews go as far as to now sit here and say in arguments that there is no devil that's a bad guy. There is no devil. You know what I mean? Like, there is no devil. There's no enemy. And when the word shaitan, right? Satan, shaitan, right? This word means the adversary. And so they're telling you that there is no, God has no enemy. He has no adversary. Then you have, this is the adversary. And then they tell you this is the adversary of man. So now all of the things that the devil does, that we would be in the understanding that this is in rebellion against God. This is not what God intended. Now all the wickedness was intended. Do you see? When the wickedness becomes the intention of God, through mental gymnastics, you become a Satanist because your God is evil. You understand? That's how that's basically the Jewish religion in a nutshell. It's just hyper sped up. They just run you through that process.
What is this? Like the Blair Witch.
Yes, the Blair Witch. It's a preview of like most of my videos. Like I put like a little preview of something I'm going to put in the next one. So I think I just basically put that because the next one I made added some Blair Witch shit in it. But
Bro,
but yeah, it's basically witchcraft. So
yeah, we just took 9 minutes and 52 seconds and just dissected that. That was good. I like that. Thanks for that. For your guys, your takes and also the video.
Well, I was gonna say, like, if you want, let's jump into the Alex Jones because 2 hours as an intro.
Yes,
that's a good intro.
Exactly what I was about to do. I got about I don't know about you guys, but I got about 45 minutes left before I got to do my side mission.
Yeah, let's do the Alex Jones because I actually have I think of myself, I'm an Alex Jones expert. So I think that I'm sure Rand is probably more of an expert than I am, but like I think that like I have a pretty good comprehension of what he's up to essentially.
Yeah, I've been listening to him for like 17 years, off and on.
Oh, then you're probably more of an expert than me. I think I wasn't listening that long.
I enjoy his content. He's interesting dude.
I got the documents right here, folks. Okay, the Illuminati and the Jesuits, Rosicrucians.
Yeah, he used to have on the Rosicrucians. Like he used to have on Lyndon LaRouche and shit. That's where I learned. And who's that dude? Fritz Springmeier. That dude is a fucking interesting dude. I don't know if he's for real or not, but you know who Fritz. You know who Fritz Springmeier is?
I got the documents right here, folks. They're saying that Trump didn't get shot. I know Trump got shot because I've been shot with Trump. Okay, and when he gets shot, he looks just like that. Okay. I'm telling you right here, folks. You heard it first. Infowars.com. Buy my health supplements. Penis enlargement.
That's a good impression. That's pretty much exactly what it is.
What he said last broadcast, though, he said that protect Donald Trump, get him underground. They're going to try to kill him again. That's his thing. What last time we checked in with him. Now, what did you say? Fritz who? Fritz.
Fritz Springmeier. He's Bloodlines of the Illuminati. He basically talked about the 13 families that run the world behind the scenes. And I don't know if it's true or not, but I think that he did definitely say a lot of things that are true. You know, in spirit at least. I mean,
it's like in the spirit of Supreme Rockefeller and him. I don't know if you remember that guy. Part of that.
No, I don't.
But you know, I think it's time to finish the job here.
Jesus.
I think it's time for us to.
This motherfucker was a plant, Joe Biden. He was put into power illegally. He was then utilized to be the figurehead that was perceived to be incompetent to destroy our country. If you look
See,
at what
stop for 1 second. Stop for 1 second. So, like, see, that's true. So I just want to say that's true what he just said there. But you think the deep state? He said that Biden was a figurehead put in place by the deep state. That's true. But it's like, duh, of course. I mean, do you think when's the last time the deep state didn't have a puppet? You know what I mean? Like, that's the funny part to me.
Yeah. Real quick, if you can do this quick, we can do this quick. Who is and what is the deep state?
Listen here, folks. They're putting atrazine in the water and making the fucking frogs gay. Okay.
We might have named the Pepe the Frog guy.
You want to know who the deep state is, bro? The deep state is whoever the fuck, right? Whether you want to say it's China, Russia, the fucking KGB, you want to say we've been subverted, you want to say it's the Satanists, it's Lucifer himself, it's whoever the fuck is actually controlling the show that we're watching every day. It's the director, you know, and the film crew. Imagine the world stage. The world stage is a production, right?
Yeah.
Whoever the fuck Steven Spielberg is,
the Masonic Sorcery Theater.
Yeah. And they're all in on it, bro.
All over the world, dude. There was that's funny enough that like that I was watching one of your videos, Neurojack, about like the African American dude. He was talking about how the fraternities, black fraternities, approached him and his friend. You know.
Oh yeah, I love that video that I made. Like, I love that one.
That happened to me at Long Beach State. My friend, but then also too, it wasn't until I got here to Taiwan that the quote unquote white Masons, they approached me here, and they're like, you know, because one of the guys I know, he became a what do they call it, a master Mason, and he's like, let me invite you to this dinner we're having, and then I didn't really want to go, but I was like, fuck it, let's see what they're talking about, and went to the dinner, and then, you know, one of the guys was like trying to sell the Masonry with the fellowship of it, you know, we just hang out, you know, we have fun, blah blah blah. And then the other guy was interesting enough, was from Russia. Who was the president of the chapter here. He was talking about like how the esoteric nature of it, and it was interesting. But bro, I don't have time for that shit, bro.
I was always like, for the most part, I was always in the streets. So you don't get Masonic offers when you're a criminal,
right?
And so I kind of was able to stay out of that shit by being part of other shit.
Right. Well, I've gone over to my broadcast before with this archetypal system that my acquaintances from Chicago came up with called the Lit, and they have a archetype called the Mason. Interesting enough, which is like basically the nigga in the hood that's basically a drone to whatever's popular, you know, thug culture or whatever, and he's referred to as Mason. And there's a lot of similarities to what he's doing and what these quote unquote pillars of the community are doing too. And they're just it's interesting how they came up with that. And so these Masons are everywhere in my worldview, you know.
Yeah, and the people that are like representing their interests in their own community have sold their own community out for money.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They're all sellouts. That's what it means. You know, you sell your own people out. You sell out kind.
Well, you notice everywhere in America where there's a little Masonic temple, that city has been run into the fucking ground, pretty much. I mean, with the exception of like a few cities, maybe, possibly, but in general, they're all like, you know, when you I drove across America many times. When you go to America through Middle America, there's all these like cities that were once like really nice places, and then like they have this nice little like Masonic temple right in the middle of their little downtown area or whatever, and
So
it's just like run down, you know.
it's not fair to say, right? And I'm not disagreeing with you on the idea, but it's not fair to say that because they had the Mason Lodge, they were run down. Only because there's a Mason Lodge in just about every city. You get what I'm saying?
Now, like I told you, like internationally too.
Yeah.
Asia. Yeah.
Like, yo,
Well,
my town
yeah.
has like 600 people in it, and we have a Masonic Lodge. And I
No,
don't even,
no, you're right. You're right.
yo, they don't even have anyone that goes to it. I've sat there and watched the lot. There's no one that goes to it. It's just there, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's like they meet on the second, every Masonic Lodge, they meet on the second Thursday or the first Thursday of the month. They have a schedule online. You can go look at it. And if you just wait there, bro, you can see who's a Mason in your local neighborhood. But mine never has anyone go to it ever.
Yeah. I learned from Emerick Jones, like the term years ago, he called it porch Masons, who are Masons that go for the fellowship or whatnot, but they're not necessarily like, could we agree that there is probably high level Masons that are actually more social involved in social engineering?
So the majority of them are an external moat of humans that protect the inner moat. Right? So the majority of the organization are just stupid people who have been deceived, and they take their money and they use them as like their own personal slaves, you know? Like they make them do all the shit for the organization.
Yeah,
Right?
it's like Scientology. It's very
Like-
similar to Scientology. Yeah.
It's like, imagine if me, you, and Neurojack started a company, and then we hire a bunch of people, and occasionally we might let a few dudes in on like the actual money that we're making, but everyone else just works for the company, and we tell everyone that they could be us one day, and they will be us one day if they work hard enough. You know what I mean? That's Masonry. And now
sounds like sales.
A pyramid, right?
Exactly. And the majority of the people that are in the Masonic organization, they don't know that the people that they're like going to these lodges with are Satanists. They think they're all good people, you see. And most of them that are Masons, they actually are good people. But they're only good because they haven't been led into the higher degrees and been given the true knowledge of Lucifer and all this other shit. They're still in the deception stage. So now anybody who looks at the Masonic organization, chances are they're going to see somebody in the exterior moat who's actually a good person and doesn't do anything wrong.
This is kind of like you see the gay celebrity with the beard, with the beard wife. Those porch Masons are the beard for them. Yeah.
The porch Masons are the community representatives. So they go out and they represent Masonry, and they're honorable, good people that have that, like, you know, they probably actually do good. And then you have the guys who are exploiting everything. You know what I mean? Who's the guys who are really running shit, bro? And that's how it works. You know, it's if you read Morals and Dogma by Albert Pike, he explains that it is necessary to deceive their own members up until the 31st degree.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And only then do they reveal the true doctrine of Masonry, the secret doctrine, which is the true doctrine of Lucifer, Luciferianism, or whatever it is. I can't remember the exact quote.
Yeah.
And you look at the damage that he's created. This man was put in power to do that damage. And then for all of us who say, oh, look, he's so dumb, he doesn't know what he's doing. There's nothing dumb about what these people are doing. The dumb motherfucker is Joe Biden. Had they had a competent leader in there, let's say they had a Barack Obama, they would look.
Yeah, he's not. He's not.
I hate when people say that. Like, he's not, dude. I mean, he might be old and feeble, if that's even true, which I'm not sure it is, but let's just assume that it's true. I mean, the dude is not a retard, at least.
Yeah.
expert lawyer and shit. I mean,
what about W? Wasn't as idiot as much of an idiot as they said, probably.
I don't think so either. I think W was smart. He was just probably smart in a different way, and I think that he knew that what his role was, and he was the friendly, good old boy.
He's just paintings now. That's what he's been doing lately.
He's like his hero, the Austrian painter from the 1930s.
There you go.
Look at that guy, and they would say, dude, that guy's a traitor. So they needed someone who looked incompetent to do what they've done. And that's another reason why they're pushing Kamala now, because the job isn't done, which coincidentally is their slogan. Let's finish the job.
Our economic plan is working. We now have to finish the job, but there's more to do.
Biden stole the election 2020.
We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.
That's just a mistake. You think that's a slip up or intentional?
That's when you say the quiet part out loud. You know what I mean? Because somebody probably came up to him, or he probably was in a meeting where they were like, look, we've put together the best voting fraud establishment ever created. And so like he just had that in his brain and just came out and was like, we've put together the greatest voter fraud program. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then like,
yeah,
it's just because that's what they're talking about recently, and that's what was on his mind. It just came out.
We went from under 50% of the population saying they were concerned about cheating in 2020 to now our biggest number, 66% of people are now at least somewhat concerned that cheating will affect the outcome of the 2024 election.
This dude got his freaking work permit and social security card, came here illegally, got documented, got on the buses from Texas to Chicago, and now within 4 months
We can't see the video. Just like,
Oh, you couldn't see it? My bad.
Yeah, just letting you know.
Thanks. Let me put it back. You heard him talking now, right? About his immigrant.
Yeah.
He's got his worker's identification card for working. He's got a driver's license. He's got insurance. He just bought a car, all in 4 months, and has an efficiency apartment that he pays $500 a month for.
Pennsylvania was registering non-citizens for 20 years, and they admit it. This is not subject to debate.
And so then sticking with the topic of non-citizen voting, isn't it true that this November, non-citizens that reside in DC for simply 30 days can vote in DC municipal elections?
That's correct.
In DC also mails every registered voter a ballot, correct?
Correct.
And so you're telling me that in Washington, D.C., if there is even a small clerical mistake, non-citizens could be mailed a ballot with federal races on them?
That's correct. We found several other things.
I can't even vote for mayor here, even though I'm a resident. Yeah.
Yeah, that's because Taiwan is not retarded. That's the reason why.
Exactly. Not yet, until they fully embrace America.
Using open source data. There is a gentleman named Eric Lutzen, and he has matched up a list. He started looking at voters above the age of 80 that were registered for voting and did vote on in Michigan, and 17,327 Michigan voters also had a corresponding obituary.
They were on the voter rolls with the birth date of 1850. There were 232 people registered to vote with an address to our local prisons. There were 4,144 people that were 90 years old and older. There were 125 people registered to vote or on the voter rolls that were registered to, or their address comes back to nonprofit NGOs and different businesses. There were 300 people, approximately 300 people with no first name, just the last name. There were about 110 people that were possible double voters, basically the same name, date of birth, address, but two different voter ID numbers. People were registered to vote at various shelters and all that. And We even found one person on the voter rolls by the name of Jesus Christ.
And Neurojack, you notice that? That's Central California right there. San Joaquin County, right? San Joaquin.
I mean, sounds like it's par for the course. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I mean, it's really funny. Like most people here in California, like they care, but they also realize, like, I don't think it's like Californians don't care. I think what they know, they know that it's totally fucking rigged, so they just stop trying, basically.
Like screw it, right? Why bother?
I mean, that's pretty much
Now
my
they're
attitude.
finishing up organizing that, and they will move into high gear with all the things they believe will destabilize things and create enough fear to keep them in power. So they're going to strengthen the powers of the executive if they get their puppet in, but they're also preparing to strip powers from the Supreme Court by packing the court and adding a whole bunch of new members that they control. So they've got all these things pre-programmed, ready.
Yeah, well, I think we've got all the Democrats who are ready for meaningful ethics reform to bind the Supreme Court. And we're working on changes to the Supreme Court. It can be term limits. It could be adding the number of justices, things we can do without having to have a constitutional amendment. Here is a man who's been a transformative president. He's got an enormous amount done, and yet he has stepped away and he has passed the torch.
And then when they're ready to deliver the meal of tyranny, they pull out the meal and they serve the poison feast.
Yo.
Well, the world government.
Enormous amount done, and yet he has stepped
Mr.
away.
Potato
And
Head?
he has passed
Yo, that
the
thing is so
torch.
funny looking, bro.
Wait, who is that?
Yo, that can't even be real, bro. There's no way. It's got like a toe. Bro, it's got a toe a giant ass toe tattooed on its neck. And it looks like a toe.
Looks like Joe Rogan on there.
Yo, that thing looked like Toe Rogan.
A leftist.
Toe
Rogan. He's all thumbs. Kamala got that weird neck vein going too. Neck thing going.
When they're ready to deliver the meal of tyranny, they pull out the meal and they serve the poison feast. Well, the world government, the satanic new world order is out in the open, ladies and gentlemen.
I can agree with that.
And Alex Jones is celebrating.
He's celebrating. Why do you think he's celebrating? Money, huh?
I don't think it's about money. It's never about money.
You think he is a Luciferian?
At this point in my life, yeah, I do personally.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wow.
It doesn't make me happy to say that, but I personally do. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get back to that too, but like seeing all these articles he has on his stack, as he calls it, right, on his desk. That's one of the things that when people would talk shit about him, when I guess I felt like back in the day, especially during the COVID shit, I was like, you know what? Even if you don't believe what he's saying, at least he's showing these documents in the with the document cam, so you can look it up for yourself. I thought that was kind of valuable right there.
No, he's a master at what he does. I mean, he really is. Like he's a master. And again, like as much as he might be evil or maybe not, but I think that he's a master at what he does. He truly is, and he's also very. I think he is. I mean, he always uses this term Rosetta Stone. This is a Rosetta Stone. I think Alex Jones is a Rosetta Stone. If you want to understand, like, basically the signaling that's going on, he's probably one of the most important nexus points of information that will kind of give you a pretty good indication of where things are headed, even if he's not fully honest.
Mm-hmm.
If you listen very carefully to his words, he is telling you what's going on, basically.
Right. I mean, based on his astrological sun sign, he's an Aquarius, and some of the astrologers they connotate the Aquarius symbol with the stream of consciousness, and that would make sense, like because he's always the age of information. He's like plugged in. What's he call his motto? His info war. It's all about information.
Well, he's literally said that he like gets downloads from something.
Here's the thing, bro. Here's the thing. I think Alex Jones was at one point actually trying to fucking do what he set out to do. I believe at a certain point, and I think it was in fairly recent years, he got compromised. And what I mean by that is that somebody grabbed him and was like, listen, we're going to kill you and your family if you don't shut the fuck up about these specific things. And when you're on the air, you're now going to work for us. And that's what we have now.
I agree with you. And I think that he's had to basically join the club to avoid his family getting murdered. That's my personal opinion.
Honestly, I think Alex Jones is trying to do the right thing. And I think he's now at the point trying to wiggle in the truth. But he's basically got his fucking, you know what I mean? He has tape over his mouth. And so, you know what I mean? I think he still actually wants to do the right thing. I don't think he can.
I mean, yeah, I agree with you. And like, that's, yeah, I more or less agree with you. I'm just saying, like, I think that he has to, he's had to make that very difficult choice, is what I'm saying. And I think that for sure after Jan 6, he definitely got like, he's a hostage, in my opinion. That's my personal opinion.
I think he got compromised after he had Kanye on there talking about Netanyahu. I think that's when they really started to hammer him with the fucking Sandy Hook lawsuits. And I think somewhere during the Sandy Hook lawsuits, they compromised him. And that's the only reason why they let him off the lawsuits, because they were going to use that to shut him down. But then they figured out another way to shut him down.
Well, that's what they did to the people from the alt-right, the real people from the alt-right who were trying to basically like point out what was really going on with the, you know, bigger geopolitical stuff. They all basically got sued and or put in prison. And they said, look, if you want to, not go to a gulag or quote unquote just disappear, like, you're going to have to suffer through the next 10 years of fucking lawsuits, basically. So, I mean, that's pretty much what happened to all those guys.
If it was because the Netanyahu stuff, like, he railed his ass yesterday on his broadcast. When he was addressing Congress.
So, no, I'm talking about he had Kanye on there just like mocking Netanyahu, calling him a yoo-hoo and shit.
Yeah.
And it was, I want to say like a year or so ago. It was a while back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was right before he got let
Yeah,
off.
I remember that.
So he was in the middle of the Sandy Hook shit, getting sued for like $1 gajillion. And he didn't give a fuck. And he was just having whoever on, bro. And he let Kanye on and talk all crazy shit about the Jews. And the Jews tried to kill Kanye, bro. And they failed to like fucking blow his plane up. Yo, this is real shit, bro. There was like a hatch that was loose on his plane, bro.
I didn't hear about that one.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's
bro.
interesting.
He was like late to the InfoWars shit because they had to fucking reattach some hatch that was loose on his plane, bro. They tried to smoke him on the way there, bro.
Damn.
Well, that's probably why he did that whole thing, to basically say, yeah.
And I think they got a hold of Kanye since then, and they fucking pumped him full of psych meds, and he calmed down.
I agree with you. I 100% agree with you.
They did it the last time he wigged out, bro.
No, that's exactly. I mean, look. I mean, without saying anything that's going to get me popped, I'm just going to say, like, I'm pretty sure that most of the people that we see, including Alex Jones, they have a psychiatrist that is very, very close behind them. Let's just put it that way.
Handler.
29th, 24 transmission. I'll be here live for the next 4 hours. And then Owen Schroyer, 3 p.m. Central, with the War Room. All right. Trump is saying so many powerful, truthful things that are game-changing. It's hard to keep track of them all. But yesterday, when he did 2 rallies, incredible, in Minnesota and in places like Nashville, he came out and said the globalist want to depopulate the humans. He said they don't want to just get rid of the cows, as they're doing in Europe and other areas and trying here. They want to get rid of the people, which is true, which you all know. But now, to have Trump calling the globalist deep state out to their faces on their main pillar, their main agenda item is so key. It's not just Elon Musk doing it. It's not just Alex Jones doing it. It's not
Pause for a second, please. So this is where like this is what upsets me is like this specific thing is like, look, why would you trust Musk? Why would you trust Trump? Why would you trust Thiel? All the people around these guys? Like, I don't understand that. To me, it's like, it doesn't make any sense. Like,
I'll tell you why. They were already set up in the script a long time ago to be a hero that they were going to put in place to save us from dangers that they themselves created, so that we would believe that the good guy was like in control and we would follow that good guy to our own hell. That's the plan.
Yep. I 100% agree with you on that.
Don't you understand? I told you already what's going to happen. I said, yo, it's basically swung as far left as it's going to go. Now you're going to start to see the pendulum swinging to the right. And it's going to continue to swing until it goes so far to the right that it actually becomes bad.
I 100% agree with you. I thought that for the last 10 years, and now like I'm seeing it. I didn't know how it was going to happen. I didn't expect it to go this way, but yeah, you're 100% correct.
You can go so far to the right where like you start beating women up in public for wearing booty shorts and shit. Like, you know, like you can go so far to the right.
Yeah, and also too from a personal point of view from Alex Jones, why would he go back and forth with like exposing Elon Musk and now supporting him and then going back and forth, and even with Trump, maybe because he's like his top priority is his media company, and he's like, I fuck it, like I'm gonna work with the pieces I have right here, you know, and those guys, he's gonna use those guys.
Well,
and,
I think it's beyond that at this point.
Excuse me, bro. And in doing so, the truth takes a back seat because of his you know, so he's working with what he has right there in this lame ass rigged game. Go ahead. You said you think it's a mood point right now.
No, I didn't say it's moot. I said I just think it's beyond that point. I think the stakes are too high right now. Like I just think that like whoever's running this script, they just got too much writing on this. I just don't think that they're going to allow people to like step out of bounds right now. I think like right now is like crucial in my opinion. Like I don't know which way it's going to go, but like I generally think that like they're not fucking around right now. I think we're at a very crucial point where, you know, they got to get this technology shit like on track. You know.
It's go time.
It's Tucker Carlson doing it. It's not just Joe Rogan doing it and Russell Brand doing it. And, you know,
all the people he mentioned are so fucking damn compromised.
Everybody he mentioned, I don't know if you noticed, but they're like the fucking fucking good guy that they literally created. Like they're the poster good. You got one guy that looks like a fake Jesus, right? You got the super genius that's gonna save us. You know what I mean? You got the comedian. He's just a regular guy.
Joe Rogan, he's not even funny to my opinion.
And then you got the howdy partner. I'm a real deal American.
Who's that?
That's Alex Jones, bro. I'm a real deal American.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and look, the thing is, like, look, you know, I think a lot of these people probably had good intentions early on, but at some point, like, they're like, I mean, they got a family to look after, and they're like, you know, they're too deep. You know what I mean? Like, you ain't gonna get out of this shit alive. I mean, that's just I mean, at a certain point, like, you pass a certain point, you ain't gonna get out alive. I'm pretty sure. Like,
yeah, blood in, blood out.
I mean, Wolf doing it, and the list goes on and on. JFK, RFK Jr., all of them. It's very, very positive to get to that point. So I'm going to be talking about that coming up and really getting into it at the bottom of the hour here in about 25 minutes. Let me just do as I do at the beginning of many shows and just in broadcast and let you know what we've got coming up here. We have clear, cut and dry election interference by Google delisting searches of Trump starting on Saturday. After it got attention from Elon Musk and others, they reversed it as of this morning. I woke up at 4 a.m. this morning, checked it, and they were still blocking all basic Trump searches, particular ones about the attempted assassination. You type in Donald, and you'd get Donald Duck, and you just couldn't get anything under Trump. And then as of getting into the office at about 9 a.m. this morning, I researched it, and all the Trump searches are working, which shows when pressure gets put on them, they try to sweep it under the rug, but then they're doing it in so many, really millions of ways. And that's what Professor Epstein, the Congress 8 years ago and 6 years ago and a few years ago testified to, that just Google's gaming with over 90% of world search results, 90+%, like 91% is the last number I saw of all searches in the world are done on Google. By gaming that on every subject you can imagine, from open borders to military operations, disasters, to fentanyl deaths, to drag queen story time, they are there, an essential part of the censorship complex. So we've got that big stack of news. Election interference, Google omits autocomplete search results for failed Trump assassination. We just give you Donald Duck. Election interference must weighs in on Google search ban on Trump. Tommy Robinson spoke to crowds of tens of thousands peacefully about the Islamic invasion. He was arrested again under anti-terror laws. Shows where the free speech is going. Google memory holes attempted assassination of Trump. Another article on Infowars.com. That is one of the stacks. That Tommy Robinson article snuck in there, but I was intending to cover that as well. I'm glad it snuck in there because I forgot to get that out of my stack. Another big angle we're going to be getting into, FBI confirms Donald Trump was struck by a bullet during July 13th assassination attempt, as major Democrat Party spokespersons all over CNN, all over MSNBC, and all over everywhere are saying nobody got shot. The whole thing's fake. When you can see it on live television, and you can't fake something that real, but because his ear didn't blow off, because they don't understand ballistics, they're saying, well, if a big old bullet hit you, and they show a whole cartridge on TV, the full cartridge that isn't fired out the barrel, for Democrats that don't understand that, don't know how to find their ass in both hands. He was grazed in the ear. And I almost told this story, but it's kind of an embarrassing story.
Oh, you want to hear
and
it?
Plus, it doesn't even sound real for most people. So I didn't tell the story. But I have been shot with a .22 caliber round in the ear when I was 9 years old.
Bro, stop, bro.
I like deliberate.
I mean, I've heard a lot of Alex Jones stories
Bro.
over the last 17 years, and I never heard this one.
But yo, I didn't hear this one either, and I don't know if you remember earlier, I was making fun of him, and I was going, I got the documents right here. Trump got shot in the ear. They're saying he didn't get shot. I got shot with Trump.
He means it into reality, though.
And then, bro, you play it, and he's like, I got shot with a .22 rifle in the ear.
Mike, you were watching Rumble before you came on.
Yo, I swear on everything, I did not see this Alex Jones. I completely was just winging it off the cuff, and it just so happens.
Look, folks, I've heard some whoppers in my time, but let me tell you this whopper.
Let's hear it, bro. I got about 10 minutes, and then we're gonna have to make the
play it, bro. I'm tired, bro. Play it.
Right. And it was a big freak out, and it was a .22 caliber air rifle. It's .22 caliber, same caliber as a .22 round. Not as heavy or long as a .556, but .556 itself is .22 caliber. And I was not grazed in the ear. I was hit directly in the back from the front, and it blew a hole out the back and bled quite a bit. But within days, there was just a purple spot because the cartilage came back in. You can look at Trump's ear and see the grazing and see how cartilage bleeds a lot, but then it becomes flesh colored within days. You can see in blowups of his ear where the scar is now, but cartilage is different than other types of open skin where it appears red or orange. After a few days, it doesn't because there's only the blood on the surface because cartilage is basically solid compared to fat or muscle. And I experienced this myself when my dad would bring kids down from school, lots of my friends, football, you name it, to our ranch. One time he dropped me and a kid I'd known for a couple of years who seemed nice named Michael off, and my grandmother did not like him, though, and she would always let me take the guns out and stuff. But with this time, she said, I talked to that kid. She was a school teacher. I don't really like him. She was very honest. She said, don't bring him back here. Because I guess she would sit there and talk to us at dinner. She was, that kid's a liar. I don't like him. I thought he was a nice kid. And then my dad and mom pulled up 2 days later to pick us up, take us back to Dallas because the ranch was 2 hours from Dallas. I spent a lot of weekends there, as I've said. And my grandmother would only let us take out the pellet guns that were there. Well, the pellet guns had belonged to my dad and my uncle. They were like vintage. They were the old 22 caliber single pump, high powered ones where it's really hard to even do the one pump. And we're getting ready to leave, and we get in an argument, and I had a regular BB gun, the smaller caliber. That's the only guns that were there. And then he had my uncle's old pump. He's about 50 feet away, and he just aimed it at me, at my head, and pulled the trigger. And it went right through my right ear at the back, and there's still just a tiny little star-shaped white scar because cartilage just back together. And I remember how amazed I was at within a few days, there wasn't even anything but just a purple mark where it happened. And I've got another BB in my leg where I grew up in a golf course community in Rockwall, Texas. And back then it wasn't built up like it is now outside Dallas. And so there were hundreds of acres of ranch land by railroad tracks that were behind the neighborhood, and there were creek bottoms back there. And when I say ranch, sometimes there were cows on it, but not normally. It was mainly woods. Somebody would rotate cows through there. We would trespass on it and hike around in there. And I'd get together with neighborhood kids. And I was trained in firearms and trained in safety. But one time, 6 or 7 of us were down there running around shooting and doing stuff. And another kid shot me in the leg. And the BB is still there. It was deeper in the muscle. As I got older, it's worked out at the surface. And you can actually see it on the surface under my skin, a bump. And I've intended to have it removed. In fact, I keep saying I am. I never get around to it. I think I'm going to get some doctor to remove it. I think I'm going to shoot video of it. This is an interesting little aside. But so I've been shot in the leg, and I've got a BB in there, regular BB caliber. What is it, 177 or whatever they call it? And then I've got a 22 caliber pellet gun exit point back here. Like I said, right to the ear, right to the back. So it's interesting that I've been basically shot in the same place as Trump. True story. But I've already told the story. I said, coming up, I'll tell you about it. But
they're besties
massive
now.
denials.
What'd you say?
I said they're besties now.
We were matching wounds.
Massive denials that happened to Trump. And it just shows some of the very same big leftist accounts and national TV hosts have demonized me for questioning Sandy Hook happening when all I did was cover the internet questioning it. I never created it, only set it off and on like maybe 5-6 shows. They had 22 minutes of evidence. They sued me 5-6 years after I'd even really talked about it, and then lied about what I did. They said I sent people to their houses, I peed on graves, I made money off of them. None of that's true. They put fake evidence on. I was already found guilty. I couldn't counter it, just totally made up crap. And then the very same people saying I am Satan incarnate for doing things I never even did are all over the place saying nobody was shot. It's all fake. It's totally staged. Incredible. But listen, they shouldn't be censored. They shouldn't be censored. They have a right to say The pigs fly if they want. They have a right to say the moon is made of cheese. They have a right to be wrong and a right to their opinion. I had a right to say I thought day one Jussie Smollett was staged. It turned out it was. But if I was wrong, I have a right to say I think this is staged. And they have a right to say they think it's staged. But the idea that I cut my teeth on or was known for Sandy Hook is preposterous. And when prominent people, and I'll leave it at that, well, they're actually been pretty public about it. Tucker Carlson went to bat to Elon Musk without me even knowing, told me about it a little bit later. Kim.com went to bat for me and told me about it later, which you saw him say on air. And so did some other prominent people. And they said to Elon, you know, he wasn't banned off X for saying nobody died at Sandy Hook and attacking families. And Elon finally, he said this in an interview that I did with him for 2.5 hours, famously. Pull that up, had like 50 million views on X. He said, no, I know you're telling the truth, Mr. Jones. I went and pulled the logs. He went to the whole history, everything I've ever posted, everything that's ever been deleted. They have a whole history. He goes, there was no coverage of Sandy Hook. You never said any of this on our platform, and you were not banned for that. You were banned for confronting Oliver Darcy, the CNN reporter, at the congressional halls on a hearing about me and censorship that I was not allowed to be part of. Well, I went there, so I'd be in the audience. And I confront him and say, how dare you run around and try to get me censored everywhere? And then he complained, they called it bullying, and that's why I was banned. In fact, there's even the CEO at the time and also the head lawyer, remember, on Joe Rogan with Tim Pool, now like, what was it, like 4 years ago? And they pull up the logs there with their iPhones and say he was banned for this. So everybody thinks I got banned 5 years ago for Sandy Hook. It wasn't even on the radar. I wasn't known for that. It's not something, it was like, it's ridiculous. And so they dredged it all up, had a PR firm run thousands of articles that I was peeing on graves and making money off these people. They did all this discovery, mixed it all up, cooked it up, misrepresented it, then said I didn't give them discovery, defaulted me, had a show trial. The reason I raised that is it's important to understand how these folks operate. They said last week, and it was put all over national news, that J.D. Vance had sex with his couch. No one ever said that. He didn't say that in his book. They even said it was definitive in his book that he liked to have sex with his couch cushions. It's totally made up. Remember, they still say that Biden even did it again, that Trump said that Hispanics, that Mexicans are all bad people. Never said anything close to that. And so this is what they do, but they just say it and 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 say it. Now, here's an example of something innocuous. There's only one thing I'm better known as, and then I'll get into all the news. This is important to understand how propaganda works. I went to pick up my 7-year-old daughter from summer camp yesterday. Well, didn't do the nighttime show. I had to pick her up at like 3 o'clock by the time I got back from the hill country. An hour and a half drive. It was too late to do the show. Chase guys did a great job. I watched a lot of it once I got home. I got home right as the show started. And when I got there, I got mobbed by the camp counselors and by the kids and by everybody and by the, they're almost all listeners. And it's a big camp, Christian camp. And they all wanted me to, not all of them, I mean, like half of them wanted me to pose with their camera or, hey, my mom's a big fan. Say something about gay frogs. And then my middle daughter, who's a camp counselor there, she's 16, Georgia runs up with a whole bunch of people that are fans. She's on the work detail there. And they all wanted me to sit there and talk about gay frogs to them. Not one person wanted me to talk about Sandy Hook. They all wanted to talk about gay frogs. And that's an example how one thing you do or one thing you say out of context when the media runs with it becomes what you are. Now, I did say the gay frog thing. And it was at the end of a long analysis with studies out of South Africa, studies out of California, studies out of Texas, studies out of China, that runoff from atrazine, even at allowable levels, bends the gender of male frogs, where the majority of them want to have sex with other male frogs for whatever reason, and then their populations die. So I said, I'm not against gay people in general. I'm against, though, chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay and by extension bend the gender of humans. And it is a fact that's going on.
You ever tried gay frog legs? That sounds pretty good.
Not that I know of. In France, when I had the frog's legs, it was "don't ask, don't tell" type of shit. Yeah.
Don't ask if they're gay or not.
They were gender fluid, bro.
This his show over the years it's become so meta that which I like when when he tells these little stories about his personal life, but then when he gets over the years when he started talking about the trial and all this stuff, that was a bit too much for me. Just kind of boring, but I get it. I guess it's
Well,
talking about
he
speech and all that shit. Yeah.
he's always been meta. Like he's always a meta. He has meta. That's why I was saying like he's important because you know, he's having meta conversations. He's doing meta jokes. He's doing like he's breaking the fourth wall. I mean, like the dude is like I mean, whatever kind of
He's in a
drug they give that dude is like off the hook. That's all I'm gonna say. Like he's wired, dude.
Barbecue and
I'm
whiskey.
yeah. I'm not insulting him either. I'm just being real. Like he's wired, dude. Like naturally, but he probably got the enhancement. Yeah.
Yeah. And I get it. Like when you said you're like, yeah, he's probably your Luciferian. It's not like you're just attacking him. You're just seeing what you see.
Well, yeah, and I'm not even saying like, look, if from his point of view, he might think he's doing the right thing, you know. But you know, I'm just saying, like, from my point of view, like, I don't know how he's not a Luciferian at this point, just because, like, you know, I'm just saying, like, dude, if you really look at what's going on, and like, I can't even explain it right, like, in a short amount of time, but I'm just saying, like, I thought about this for a very long time, and like, I looked into it a lot, and it's like, you know, when he says that they want to depopulate the earth of humans, like, he is not joking. Okay, like, I really truly believe that is what they're trying to do, and if they're not trying to do that, like, I'm scared of what else that's going to be. But sorry, guys.
No, I'm saying that was the first thing he opened the broadcast by saying about the New World Order trying to depopulate the planet. It's the first thing he said. Yeah.
Well, and the thing is, here's the thing: they never tell you why, and I think that's the whole thing. Is like you got to really think about why would they want to do that. Well, I think it's because they don't want to share what they're making, and I think that they probably figured out how to, like, you know, let people live quite a long time and do some crazy shit, and I just don't think they want to share. That's just my opinion. I don't know that, but that's my guess.
Sounds pretty logical. So we're gonna wrap it up. I gotta go swimming take my son to swimming practice. Mike, Rant, you got any final words until next time? Thanks for coming on, bro. Blessing us.
Bro, it's all good, bro. You already know, dog.
Yeah, all good. I'll see you in the Discord, bro. And Neurojack, our special guest. I appreciate you coming on, bro. And that video, I want to do this shit again, bro. I like using the videos with teaching and explaining it and decoding it. That was a really fun.
No, I appreciate it. I mean that's the whole purpose of making them, is for people to have a conversation. That's the only reason I made them. So I appreciate that's what we did. So that's the whole point. So
yeah,
because most of the time people watch it and they're like, this is like schizo shit, and I'm like, it is, but it's not as schizo as it seems. I think, but
I'll tell them what Mike said earlier. It sums it up. They're just retarded, bro.
something like that.
Yeah.
I'm jealous though, man. I like swimming, so I hope you have a good time there.
Yeah, man. You got to practice for his triathlon coming up in a couple months. Yeah.
Triathlon. Oh my god, I don't even know what that means, but it sounds intense.
Bro's done it's like 7 already, and he's only 6 years old. Like junior ones. He's pretty good. Yeah.
So is that like a marathon, 13 miles, but swimming or something?
No, it's junior. It's like for the kids, so it's like probably 1.5 kilometers running, a little over a kilometer biking, and then like I don't know, like 100 like meters swimming for 5 6 years old. Yeah, he's
pretty
coming
cool.
he's second, and like he's always like number one in running. So he's doing good.
That's cool. No, I like that. Like I'm again, like I never was into sports when I was a kid, but like if I really want to do that for my kid. I like sports, so I need to look that up.
It's good, bro. And we talk about that shit too, because parenting is a top priority. That's why it's great to have OGs like Rant, like throwing it down, father of the year type shit. I'll talk to you guys soon. So this has been NPC the Game live. Yeah. All right. Mixed Moods and Attitudes with Alex Jones featuring Neurojack and Rant. And we'll see you next time here on NPC the Game. Peace.